The moment he opened his eyes, he received a critical condition notice. Desperate for hospital fees, he joined an online singing contest. Out of nowhere, his voice made the entire internet burst into tears, attracting up to 7 billion views. Nothing left to regret in this world, everything is like smoke and clouds. His name is Bai Tian. As a transmigrator, he couldn't believe that he actually traveled into the body of a terminal stage brain cancer patient. After calming down, he carefully sorted through this body's memories, only to realize that his current health condition was extremely terrible. He needed surgery immediately, otherwise, at most, he would only live for another half a year to a year. However, after just a few days in the hospital, he had spent every last penny of his savings. The cost of the surgery and follow-up treatment required another 1.7 billion Vietnamese dong. Abandoned by his parents since childhood, he had to rely on begging and odd jobs to feed himself. He didn't have a single close friend by his side, and his career wasn't going well either. Where on earth could he find 1.7 billion now? Helpless, he could only crack a bitter smile. His eyes filled with despair. Could he really do nothing but wait for death? Right at this moment, his phone suddenly popped up a shocking notification. Sister Zimmer, a top PD, is spending a fortune to host a singing contest. The grand prize is up to 3.5 billion Vietnamese dong. Anyone who can sing can join. Seeing those words, his eyes flickered slightly, but the next second, they returned to complete calmness. His own singing skills were just average, so thinking about it, there was no way he could win that 3.5 billion. Helpless, he tightly closed his eyes, preparing to accept his fate. But right at this moment, a familiar voice suddenly echoed inside his head. Detected that the host's mood is dropping. Please do not worry. Your most loyal assistant is always here. He really wanted to crack a bright smile, but the severe depression of this body made his eyes only flicker with a tiny ripple of emotion. The system's voice continued to ring out. Congratulations to the host for receiving the beginner's gift pack. Reward master level singing skills and master level vocal tone, along with the entire past life music catalog of Blue Heart, plus a copyright registration feature for every song the host chooses. The host does not need to worry about copyright issues, as copyrights have already been fully set up. At this moment, his pale face finally showed a hint of a smile. If that's the case, then maybe there's a chance to win that prize money. After all, thinking up to this point, he no longer hesitated and followed the process to sign up for the online singing contest hosted by the PD. Very quickly after that, his application was approved, and he was invited by the staff to join a chat group for the contest. In the group, he also discovered many big shot names from the internet singing scene. Looks like the prize money this time has attracted quite a lot of people. In his heart, he felt the pressure instantly double. At this time, the admin also tagged everyone, announcing that the registration had officially closed, asking contestants to confirm their participation and send the song title, backing track, and lyrics to him. The preliminary round will start at 7 p.m. tomorrow. They will randomize the performance order and then notify each contestant. Failure to show up will be counted as an automatic disqualification. Is it necessary to upload the lyrics using both hands to support his weak body? He forced himself up from the hospital bed, walked over to the window, and stared at the dim moonlight glimmering through layers of clouds. Inside the hospital, the hallway was incredibly desolate, and combined with the torment of his illness, he constantly felt like his heart was covered by a thick layer of dark clouds, as if he couldn't see any ray of light. After standing silently for a long time, he took out his phone and filled in his contest song title, The Ocean. Early the next morning, the music festival staff sent over the competition info. He was contestant number 1 of Group 3. Don't forget the competition time because the number of participating contestants is quite massive. To save time, if anyone is absent for over a minute, it will be considered a forfeit, and the turn will automatically pass to the next contestant. After reading it, he nodded and lay back down on the bed, his face showing pain as he gently rubbed his temples. The agonizing pain, like something gnawing at his brain, rushed in once again. Helpless, he swallowed a handful of painkillers and set an alarm for 7 p.m., closing his eyes and slowly drifting off to sleep. Time quickly flew by until evening arrived. At this moment, inside the live stream room of the PD, it was packed with people keeping the hype at a high level of over 5 million viewers. The number of guest seats had even surpassed 100,000 people. Comments and bullet chats were constantly popping up. Oh my god, is this really just the preliminary round? Singing this well, anyone is qualified to debut already, right? They're all pros pretending to be noobs. Probably big shots from other platforms sneaking over here to compete. The PD sitting in front of the screen couldn't stop smiling either. Even they didn't expect the hype to be this massive. And on top of that, the quality of the contestants was absolutely exploding. At this moment, the host's voice rang out in the live stream room. The contestants of Group 1 and Group 2 have finished singing. Now please welcome the first singer of Group 3 to the mic. Since this is an online live stream competition, with a massive number of contestants, many tedious and unnecessary steps have been cut out. Therefore, the pacing moved incredibly fast. Before long, it was his turn to take the mic and perform. However, tens of seconds had passed, and inside the live stream room, there was still no sound at all. The host now began to call out Bai Tian's name. Contestant Bai Tian, may I ask if you are there? If so, please quickly take the mic and begin your turn. If the 1 minute countdown ends, you will be considered to have automatically forfeited. The viewers in the live stream room also began to troll at this point. This guy probably heard the previous contestants singing and got so scared that he ran away, right? About 50 seconds passed. Just as the host was about to announce his automatic forfeiture, inside the live stream room, a somewhat weak voice suddenly rang out. Is it my turn already? At this moment, at a deserted and dark corner of the stairs in the hospital, his body was slouched over, his face slightly distorted in pain as he panted heavily. Because making noise wasn't allowed in the hospital, he could only grit his teeth, enduring the bone-chilling pain inside his body as he found this place to use as his singing spot. But even this short distance almost took his life away. The PD and several judges frowned slightly upon hearing this, but didn't ask further questions. The PD spoke up, yes, please start now. He quickly nodded, replying, okay. After that, he put on his earphones, adjusted the volume, and slowly spoke. Sorry to have kept everyone waiting for so long. An original song called The Ocean Bottom, dedicated to everyone. Right after his words, a simple but slightly sorrowful and lonely guitar melody gently rang out, instantly sweeping everyone into the emotional wave. Then his deep, low singing voice echoed. This deep affection stretches all across the path. Everyone present there felt like they were hit with a heavy blow to the head, shaking all over. Their hearts seemed to be struck by something, becoming unusually heavy. At this time, he leaned against the wall to support his body, his eyes slightly closed, using that unreal, yet incredibly lonely voice to continue singing. Rain falls at the station, the human world and all living things. Everything is just fate. The entire live stream fell into absolute silence, as if it had just been completely submerged by ocean water. Everyone's eyes turned red, deeply immersed in their own emotions. Just like the lyrics echoing out, the girl stepped into the heart of the ocean to find liberation, while the people on the shore seemed completely unaware, not even caring in the slightest about the scene before their eyes. The indifference of the world toward that girl, how could it be so cruel? Perhaps the ocean was her true sanctuary, because the sea can embrace all the unpleasant things in the world and wash away all the dirt. The listeners in the live stream room all felt their souls tremble, their eyes bursting into tears. In reality, deep inside each of their hearts was there perhaps also hiding a girl just like that. The pressure from studying, the dark corners of the workplace, the misery of life, and the heavy financial burdens. Everyone is weighed down by layers upon layers of these struggles on their backs, weighed down to the point where they can't even breathe. Every time it's late at night, tears unconsciously fall. Your own pressure can only be self-soothed, as no one sympathizes with you. And even if they do, no one can really help. Every time you can't hold on anymore, you just tell yourself to endure it and it will pass. But who would have thought this endurance might last a lifetime? At this moment, he was also completely immersed in the bleak world of this song, thinking about his past life spent in a daze and coming to this place only to suffer the torment of illness, lonely and waiting for death to approach. The tragic experiences and overlapping memories, along with the loneliness and despair in his heart, flashed before his eyes, blending right into his singing. It's too late now. These words, "it's too late now," contained pure despair and helplessness toward the world. The pent-up emotions in the hearts of the viewers in the live stream room, also following his lines of "it's too late now" simultaneously, exploded with endless pain. The PD and several judges sitting in front of the screen remained silent for a long time. This song, The Ocean Bottom, had completely unlocked the repressed depression buried deep inside everyone's hearts, unleashing all those emotions, making them choke up to the point where they couldn't even move, as if they were sinking deep under the pitch-black ocean bottom, feeling nothing but endless loneliness and suffocating pain. This eerie atmosphere lasted for a full 2 minutes, before everyone finally snapped out of it. At this time, the host took a deep breath and spoke up, "Sorry everyone. The aftertaste of this song is truly too overwhelming." Hearing the voice, the audience also gradually regained their composure, and the comments on the screen instantly flooded the entire space, overflowing with status lines expressing melancholy emotions. When he finished singing this song, holding his phone in his hand, he just leaned against the window frame in the hospital hallway, staring blankly at the pouring rain outside the window, unclear of what he was thinking. At this moment, the host hurriedly reminded him, for the judges to score. The contestant has finished performing, so judges, please give your scores. The viewers can also type your personal scores on the screen, and our backstage team will record and calculate them. A judge laughed bitterly and said, "To be honest, I feel I'm not qualified to critique this song. This contestant only used a phone, yet could sing with an effect that rivals a CD like this. This stage control is absolute master level to me, but I can only give it 99 points. The reason for subtracting 1 point is because it's too depressing, making me feel incredibly heavy-hearted." The other two judges also nodded in agreement, but they didn't subtract any points, and instead gave an absolute perfect score of 100, one after another. Looks like this time he's definitely guaranteed to advance. Right at this moment, The PD suddenly remembered something and asked Bai Tian, "Is the contestant there? I want to ask you a quick question. What kind of state were you in when you composed this song?" However, inside the live stream room, there was no response from him to his question. "White Cicada, are you there?" At this time, after finishing the song, he had already returned to his hospital room, completely unaware of how massive a shockwave he had caused. Inside the live stream room, he lay exhaustedly on the hospital bed, staring up at the cold ceiling, feeling the pain spreading through his body, his gaze gradually turning numb. The purpose of joining the singing contest was to earn the prize money, to use it as a surgery fee for himself, clinging to a faint, fragile hope of survival. But for some reason, at this moment, he constantly felt like death was his true final destination. In reality, even if the surgery is done and he survives, will the agonizing pain from the follow-up treatment process disappear? What on earth is the meaning of existence at 4 a.m.? Inside a simple room, a young girl with her wrists wrapped in layers of white bandages tiptoed quietly over to the window frame. Standing from the 20th floor and looking down, there was no fear in her eyes at all, only a silence like a stagnant pool of water. Just as she closed her eyes, preparing to throw herself down, an ethereal and sorrowful singing voice rang out. Suddenly, from the next room, it drifted over to me this deep affection. The eyes that were originally filled with the dead silence of the young girl suddenly rippled with a slight tremor. In this sorrowful and lonely song, she seemed to have heard herself. Is there still someone just like me in this world? Who is it? What is the name of this song? Who is singing it? She suddenly really wanted to listen to this song. She was seen walking back toward the bed, picking up her phone to search for the lyrics she just heard. Not long after, a video with likes reaching up to hundreds of thousands appeared before her eyes. The ocean bottom. The young girl put on her earphones, tapped to open the video, and began to listen quietly. Along with the intro music, ringing out a flood of bullet chats instantly rushed in. High energy warning ahead. Please prepare your own tissues. Advise those in a bad mood not to listen. Young Xiaoran, who originally intended to turn off the comments, pulled her hand back. She suddenly really wanted to see what other people had said. While scrolling through the comments, she listened to it, the song that was stirring a deep resonance in her heart. Hearing up to this point, young Xiaoran let out a bitter sigh, her eyes filled with deep sorrow. That's right, where will I go after I die? Will I completely vanish, or will I turn into a lonely ghost, continuing to wander around this world? At this time, she looked at the comment lines on the screen. Let me tell you guys a little secret. Once you die, you have to go to the underworld where the atmosphere is super gloomy. Just taking one breath feels bone-chilling cold. Everywhere you look, there are ghosts with terrifying shapes. You won't even get to bask under the sun. Pretty scary, right? So everyone, you must live your life well. Not for any grand reason, but just to bask under tomorrow's gentle sunshine. The user above is right. I just took a trip back from there. In this lifetime, I never want to go back there ever again. Everyone, please live well. If no one loves you, then let me love you. That's right. Let us love you, and then let's all love this world together properly. Stay strong, stranger. Oh, I love you. Looking at the screen filled with the words, I love you, young Xiaoran's thin, weak body couldn't help but burst into two streams of hot tears, silently rolling down her cheeks. Does someone really love me? She suddenly remembered a late night half a month ago, when the emotions pent up inside her for so long suddenly exploded, without any prior warning signs. She rushed straight into the kitchen, grabbed a fruit knife, and slashed hard at her wrist. When her parents saw the fresh blood continuously gushing out from her wrist, there was no blame in their eyes, no anger, only endless anxiety and restlessness. They carried her, defying everything, and rushed straight to the hospital. She still vaguely remembered that on that night, her father, who had always been law-abiding, ran past I don't know how many red lights, while her mother stayed up all night by her side, tightly holding her hands, as if terrified that she would leave forever. Turns out I am still loved. At this moment, the bleak singing voice continued to ring out. Wave goodbye. Hearing up to here, another dense wave of bullet chats appeared on the screen. The comments of all colors and sizes, at this time, simultaneously sent out three words. There's still time. There's still time as long as you're alive. There is still time for everything. Seeing that dense wall of there's still time, young Xiaoran finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She wailed out loud, tears instantly bursting from her eyes. The emotions bottled up for who knows how long were finally released at this very moment. Just as she was hiding under the blanket sobbing, an anxious voice suddenly came from outside the door. A middle-aged woman, looking completely worried, rushed in, came to the bedside, took Yang Xiaoran into her arms, and gently patted her back, constantly comforting her. It's okay, Ran. I'm here. Seeing the worry in her mother's eyes, while crying, a smile suddenly broke across her face. Wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes, she said, Mom, I'm a bit hungry. Could you please? Hearing this, the mother's eyes instantly turned red. Okay, Ran, wait for me. Mom will go cook that tomato and egg noodles that you love the most. Young Xiaoran looked at her mother's retreating back, tears and a smile coexisting at the same time, silently saying thank you everyone. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. His song, The Ocean Bottom, had become a massive hit, all over social media, climbing straight into the top 3 trending charts of major platforms. Netizens everywhere were extremely curious about what kind of person he really was. To be able to compose such a depressing song, could he also be a depression patient? There were even hardcore female fans searching for his information everywhere, just wanting to give him a hug so he could feel the warmth of the world. But staying in the hospital, he was completely unaware of it. Since falling ill, he rarely checked his phone, as looking at it for just a bit would make his head ache. Right now, was sitting alone in a secluded corner outside the hospital building, gently plucking the guitar strings in his hands. This guitar was something he had exchanged from the system a few days ago, along with the master level guitar skills. For some reason, every time he plucked the strings and heard the sound vibrating from the fretboard, the pain in his head seemed to ease up a lot. Unsure if it was an illusion or what, just as he was immersing himself in the music, a loud phone ringtone woke him up. After answering the call, he found out it was the staff from the singing contest. Turns out, the second round of the qualifiers would officially start tonight. Putting the phone down, he picked up the guitar and stood up, preparing to head back to his room to practice his contest song. Little Bai, where are you coming back from? Walking to the door of his room, he saw a middle-aged man with a weathered face sitting on a chair. He was dressed simply, holding a cigarette in one hand and a cheap bottle of ergotu liquor in the other, calling out to greet him. This man was Uncle Zhang, a diabetes patient sharing the same room with him. Uncle Zhang, you still dare to drink liquor? Aren't you afraid of your aunt? Seeing you, Uncle Zhang smiled and said, it's fine, your aunt went to handle the discharge procedures. For me already, it's been so long since I touched alcohol. I gotta have a little to satisfy the craving. Hearing this, he was completely stunned. Seeing his expression when hearing about the discharge, Uncle Zhang suddenly smiled bitterly. I'm the one who doesn't want treatment anymore. After saying that, he chugged a big gulp of liquor, his expression suddenly turning bitter. Even though your aunt hid it from me, I already found out. It's not diabetes, but early stage pancreatic cancer. Hearing this, his pupils contracted slightly, and for a moment, he didn't know what to say to make it right. Only after a while did he manage to break the silence. If it's early stage, there's still a chance, right? Uncle Zhang smiled bitterly. Early stage is indeed early stage. But I am just an old farmer with muddy hands and feet. Where would I get that much money for treatment? Instead of this, it's better to leave this money for my wife and kids and save myself from the torture. Even if the surgery succeeds, there's still chemotherapy and all that. Just lying, gasping for breath on a hospital bed, waiting for someone to take care of me. I'd rather take advantage of the time I can still walk to go home and spend more time with my family. After saying that, he stood up and patted his shoulder. Even though I have accepted my fate, you are still a kid, still so young. Uncle Zhang hopes you can keep living. You must definitely hang in there. Don't give up. After that, he turned around and walked toward the hospital gate. He looked at Uncle Zhang's back, which was both peaceful and lonely, feeling an indescribable heartache in his chest. Returning to his hospital bed, his mind was filled with the words Uncle Zhang just said. A man who always longed for the day he could hold his grandson, yet because he had no money, could only sit and wait for death to come. Perhaps even though his heart still holds so many regrets and so much despair, he can only swallow the bitterness back into his heart, pretending to be very peaceful, calmly facing death. Sometimes life is just fragile like that. When misfortune strikes, the only thing one can do is to cherish the remaining time. Thinking back to Uncle Zhang's last words, does he really still have hope? Bai Tian let out a deep sigh. Then he took out his phone to find the contact of the music festival staff to edit his performance info and send it over. Contestant Bai Tian. Song to be performed, How Can I Make You Stay? At this time, the second round was going on intensely. The ones who managed to stay in this round were all opponents with extremely formidable skills. MC Shangnai spoke up. The show has reached its final moments. Not to keep everyone waiting any longer, let us welcome our very last contestant. I believe that tonight, most of the audience are looking forward to his appearance. Of course, I am no exception. I've even prepared tissues beforehand, so hopefully he won't disappoint us. After hearing what the MC said, many viewers instantly snapped out of it, their spirits lifting completely. Boohoo waited all night and finally he's here. Are you guys ready? Everyone, it's time. Let's start crying. Next, please welcome the next contestant, Bai Tian. Along with his appearance, the hype of the live stream room once again broke records. From inside the live stream room, a slow voice rang out. Hello everyone, I am Bai Tian. Today I bring an original song titled How Can I Make You Stay? Right after his words, a series of incredibly heavy yet distant guitar notes echoed. Immediately after, his deep voice carrying a slight feminine tone rang out. With just 4 lines of singing, it was once again like bullets piercing through the souls of the audience. It was still the same melancholic melody as always, touching the hearts of the audience once more, just like the lyrics echoing out. It seemed as though he had truly forgotten the past, forgotten the pain he once endured for his ideals. He had also come to believe in destiny, compromising and surrendering to fate. At this time, the lyrics continued to ring out, as if protecting something. At that exact same time, the girl Yang Xiaoran, who previously attempted suicide, was also inside the room, quietly listening to his singing voice. For some reason, she could always find inside his voice a little bit of comfort for herself, purifying the turmoil caused by her depression. As for him, his eyes were tightly shut, completely immersed in the song. Everyone instantly felt like something just exploded in their minds. A moment of daze. Turns out that person in the lyrics is actually life itself. Enjoying its brilliance takes only a brief moment, and enduring its emptiness is also just a fleeting phase in a human life that is both endlessly long and incredibly short. It generously gives us the peaks of happiness, but also ruthlessly demands back tears of despair. If one hasn't experienced its emptiness, then how could they ever understand that brilliance? That is exactly what life is. In the next second, the weak classical music suddenly became firm and intense. At this time, the breathing of everyone in the live stream room became heavy. The comment sections also constantly popped up. Tears are falling. What on earth has Bai Qian been through? Why can a young person be so filled with melancholy? Why am I crying again? This guy is seriously too much. He hit me right in the feels again. Suddenly, I want to cry so badly. I really just want to end it all like this. My grandfather, who raised me since childhood, passed away last year. This year, my grandmother also fell seriously ill and left us. I don't know what to do anymore. I really don't know what to do. One sad story after another appeared on the comment sections like that. It seemed that right now, inside the live stream, room surrounded by his song, they had found people in the same situation. The comfort from strangers helped ease their feelings a bit. The song was still not over. He was completely unaware of the situation outside, continuing to immerse himself in the melody. As the final chord struck, everyone's tears could no longer be contained and silently streamed down. At first, they thought this song carried negative energy, a sense of helplessness against fate. But along with the appearance of the final lyrics, they realized they were wrong. At this moment, they felt as if the freezing winter was gradually melting away. A desolate and ruined wasteland under the winter sunshine suddenly became glittering and radiant. He had sung out the deepest empathy between people in a flawless manner, singing out the most extreme despair of life while still persistently waiting for spring to arrive. Hope was still there. At this time, young Xiaoran's face was already drenched in tears. I want to watch the sea of flowers bloom. I want to see the swallows return and spring arrive. I want to... Young Xiaoran cried out over and over again. Inside the live stream, room just like during his previous performance of The Ocean Bottom. After the song ended, everyone was dazed for a long time, unable to snap out of it. An eerie silence lasted for who knows how long, until the judge PD suddenly snapped back to reality. Looking at the screen in shock as if possessed, he asked a question. Bai Tian, are you okay? Perhaps even he didn't know why he asked that question. At this time, the viewers in the live stream room heard this question and also fully woke up. Their hearts couldn't help but tremble. That's right, both The Ocean Bottom and How Can I Make You Stay made people feel the deepest despair in his heart, the longing, the pleading, and even the regrets. What on earth happened to you? Are you okay? But at this moment, he was still in a deserted hallway of the hospital. Hearing the PD's question, he was also stunned for a moment. Then looking down at the patient gown on his body, he gave a bitter smile and said, I'm okay. Just when everyone was waiting for him to continue and say something more, he suddenly left the mic. Seriously, it's exactly like the first round, dipping right after singing. As expected, My God Bai has so much personality. Meanwhile, on the other side, in that corner of the hospital, his song had made countless people shed tears. After seeing that he had advanced, he quickly exited the live stream room, intending to head back and rest. But right at this moment, he suddenly noticed that in a dark, secluded corner of the hallway, there seemed to be a figure quietly watching him. Could it be that I disturbed the patients nearby? He gently rubbed his nose, speaking up awkwardly. Sorry, did I disturb you? But after waiting for a long time, there was still no response. He frowned slightly, intending to step forward and check. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap tore through the silent space. The next second, a blinding flash of lightning ripped across the sky. The stark white light pierced through the window, illuminating the figure in the corner. It was a petite little girl, wearing a pure white little dress. Her long hair and even her eyebrows were as pure white as snow, looking just like a little angel forgotten in the mortal world. At this moment, the little girl seemed to be startled, turning around to run away, vanishing down the hallway. Who was that little girl? Just as he was deep in thought, the phone ringtone suddenly rang out. He flinched slightly. The ringtone really startled him while he was lost in thought. He answered the call. The other end of the line echoed, Bai Tian, it's PD here. Am I disturbing you? Hearing this, his eyes showed a hint of doubt. This late already, is there a reason he's looking for me? Is there something wrong? Hearing his incredibly tired voice, the PD stopped beating around the bush. It's like this, because the 2 songs you performed in the contest were extremely outstanding. Just now, many music platforms contacted me. They wanted me to ask you a quick question. Do you have any intention of selling the copyrights to these 2 songs? Hearing up to here, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. This was indeed a good thing. Music-wise, what the platforms wanted to buy must be the distribution rights of the songs, right? If the negotiation goes smoothly, his own medical expenses won't even have to wait until the final match to be completely taken care of. Finally, he replied, Mr. PD, coincidentally, I also have this intention. Just tell the platforms that want to buy them to contact me directly. Sorry for troubling you. The PD, hearing his response, smiled, gave an okay, and hung up the phone. On that fateful night, both he and the show once again climbed straight onto the hot search charts of major platforms. Countless people were deeply moved by his singing voice. Those humans wandering in the dark, after hearing this voice that touched the deepest part of their souls, followed that melody one after another and gathered together to comfort and warm each other. Tonight, across all major music and video platforms, those video clips or audio tracks related to him all had traffic that was skyrocketing, reaching over tens of millions of views. The total views even directly crossed the 1 billion mark. The growth trend still showed absolutely no signs of cooling down. To secure the distribution rights of the songs, people from the music platforms were actively searching for him like crazy. They were all desperate to get in touch with him. As for the things causing a buzz on the internet, he had already fallen asleep, so he was completely unaware. Early the next morning, he received a call from the Russian music platform side. Unexpectedly, the moment the other party spoke, they treated him like an ordinary person who was easy to bully, confidently offering a price of 5 billion Vietnamese dong to completely buy out all rights to his 2 songs. He let out a few cold laughs, then said, Your company's sincerity is just great. Let's talk about it some other time. When mentioning the word sincerity, he intentionally emphasized his tone and then immediately hung up the phone. Do they really think I don't know anything? As expected of a company under manhwa, he really dares to leech off people, wanting to buy out the copyrights of both songs for just 5 billion? Isn't that just bullying an honest guy? Even though he was in urgent need of money, it wasn't to the point of selling them dirt cheap like this. Plus, there would definitely be many more people reaching out to him after this. Thinking up to here, he stretched his body, then stood up intending to go outside for a walk. He walked into the office of Chief Physician Dr. Lee. You're fully prepared, right? Then go get checked up first in a bit. After everything is settled, we'll try our best to arrange the surgery for you before the end of this month. Yes, sorry to trouble you so much, Chief Lee, he said with a serious look on his face. Chief Lee nodded, smiled, and said, Don't worry, you're still young. The tumor hasn't metastasized yet, so the success rate of the surgery is very high. Keep your chin up, so your body can have more vitality. Hearing this, Bai Tian also smiled. Yes, thank you, Chief Lee. After stepping out of Chief Lee's office, he suddenly felt a wave of relief. The heavy boulder weighing on his chest for so long was finally cut in half. Leaning against the hospital window, looking at the warm sunlight in the blue sky, the corners of his mouth twitched up slightly, forming his first smile after such a long dark period. Suddenly, the phone ringtone rang out again. Looking at the number displayed on the screen, he hesitated for a few seconds before slowly pressing answer. Hello, Mom. You brat, so you still recognize your mother. How long has it been since you last gave me a call? Huh. Hearing her voice full of resentment, his heart couldn't help but feel warm. Bai Ken was abandoned by his biological parents since childhood. At 12 years old, while working a job, he starved himself to deliver goods, unexpectedly fainting right at her house due to extreme hunger. That kind-hearted woman brought him to the hospital and took dedicated care of him for all this time. After learning about his background, she treated him even more like her own adopted son. As long as she is still alive, she will be his mother. This was also a motivation that helped him hold on until now. He still had family by his side. It was a single-parent family. He also had a beautiful older sister. They treated him as if he were their own blood relative. To him, they were his angels. Therefore, he had never spent a single penny of theirs. He didn't want money matters to ruin this family bond and warmth that he had obtained with great difficulty. That was why even after being diagnosed with brain cancer, he didn't break the bad news to them at all. He didn't want them to worry and wanted even less to become their burden, so he just smiled helplessly. How could that be? It's just that I've been a bit busy lately. He only heard the mother on the other end of the line let out a soft sigh as she said, No matter how busy you are, you must take good care of yourself. Don't always be so stubborn, like that. If you need anything, just tell your sister and me. We are a family. Hearing this, his heart suddenly swelled with emotion, his eyes turning a bit red. Yes, Mom. Thank you, everyone. I will be careful. Mom, you also have to stay healthy. After she gave a few more reminders and hung up the phone, he felt a little more hope being sparked. Just as he was about to head back to his hospital room to prepare the contest song for tonight, his mind suddenly went buzz, accompanied by continuous ringing in his ears. He felt like the world was spinning, and his vision gradually became blurry, along with a sudden wave of nausea. Next, a needle-like pain hit his brain, many times more intense than all the previous times. At this moment, he could no longer hold on, his entire body collapsing onto the ground. Both hands clutched his head tightly as he gritted his teeth to endure it. Unsure how much time had passed, that feeling finally faded away gradually. He gasped heavily for air, looking at his clothes, which were completely drenched in cold sweat. A hint of doubt rose in his heart. Could it be that he hadn't taken his medicine today? No, it seems like I did. He tried to search his memory, only to find that he seemed to have lost this piece of memory, completely unable to recall it. Maybe because he was too caught up in singing and moving around a lot over the past 2 days, he didn't get a good rest. Right after that, he slowly supported himself against the wall to stand up, then dragged his heavy steps back to the hospital room. Time flew by quickly, and in the blink of an eye, night arrived. PD's Music Festival livestream room had opened early. Even though it wasn't game time yet, countless viewers had flooded in. Very quickly, the host took the mic, announcing that the third round of the qualifiers officially started. Then they introduced the first contestant of tonight. Let us welcome our very first contestant. Bai Qian brings the original song Sorrow. The scene instantly blew up. No one expected him to go first. Right at this moment, his voice suddenly rang out. Sorry, judges and organizers. Can I change to a different song? The entire studio was instantly stunned. This action of his caught everyone off guard, especially the organizer's side and the PD. If it were anyone else making such a request, there was no way he would ever agree. After all, this show of his is currently the competition with the top trending heat. Every minute of delay would cause a massive loss in viewership traffic. But the surprising thing was that when it came to him, this matter was completely not an issue. On the contrary, it even made the heat in the live stream room skyrocket once again because the audience came here all for him. His every gesture and action was the center of attention. After getting approval, he immediately sent the new lyrics and backing track to the staff. While waiting, the PD took the opportunity to chat with him. Right, Bai Qian? Why did you think of participating in our show? Actually, this was also the question that the audience really wanted to know. According to what they found out, he wasn't a singing streamer, nor was he a professional singer. He was like someone who suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Yet the songs he composed and the way he performed them were professional to this extent. Hearing this sensitive topic, he was lost in thought for a moment, then replied, I saw this show had prize money, so I joined. Everyone was instantly stunned. Right after that, the comments on the live stream started jumping crazily. This is way too straightforward. The PD heard this answer and could only smile bitterly. My brother, you talk way too honestly, right? Have you received the audio equipment? I gifted you Magic City Hospital. It's quite close to my place. I just went to pick it up. Thank you, PD. At this time, the PDA suddenly remembered something. So he asked, earlier you told me you had a cold. Why are you still in the hospital after so many days? Your health isn't in any serious trouble, right? He hurriedly replied, it's fine. It's just a minor illness. It won't affect anything. Even though he said so, the PD still felt that something was wrong. But seeing that he didn't want to talk about it, he didn't continue to press further. The audience at this time also followed that topic and sent comments rapidly. A cold but has to stay at Magic City Hospital for days, plus singing 2 songs that are so sad. Could it be that he has some terminal illness? Right at this moment, the host suddenly spoke up, announcing that the song was fully prepared. Bai Qian, once you're ready, you can start singing. This stage is handed over to you. At this time, he was still leaning his back against the wall in the hallway, watching the moonlight pierce through the window and shine inside. After smiling softly, he gently said, the song I bring to everyone today, I want to dedicate it to a person. She is the most beautiful woman in this world. The title of the song is One Meat Dish, One Vegetarian Dish. Just when everyone was still in shock, because he was singing a love song today, the melodious slow guitar notes rang out. After that, everyone heard his deep, warm, and narrative voice ring out. Blending with the catchy and touching melody, it was once again like an arrow leaving the bow, piercing right through the hearts of the audience. They seemed to see inside that warm little house a figure whose back had slightly bent, hustling around in the kitchen. On the small wooden table in the living room, the dishes they had been longing for were neatly laid out. Isn't this scene the very place you once yearned to escape from, but now is a place that makes your heart ache with endless longing? Only at this moment did everyone suddenly realize that this wasn't a love song at all, and the most beautiful woman in the world wasn't a lover, but mother. The singing voice continued to ring out. Hearing up to this part, most people could no longer hold it in. Even though they tried hard to suppress their emotions, no matter how hard they tried, memories kept rushing back like a flood, along with streaming tears. So many people when they were young, for the sake of their own ideals, resolutely chose to leave, far away from home. But how many have ever turned back to look at how they looked when they were young? By the time you want to turn back, they have already grown old. You always think that time passes so slowly, but look at their wrinkles, and you will know just how fast time actually flies. Right after that, his incredibly gentle singing voice rang out. At this moment, people could no longer contain themselves. They lowered their heads all at once, their eyes red and tears gushing like a flood. In their hearts, there was only an endless aching longing for mother. The song continued to ring out. At the same time, inside a shabby rented room, a young man was listening to the singing from the live stream room. He bit his lip tightly, trying to hold back his tears as he dialed a number. What's wrong, son? Son, did you run out of money again, you silly boy? Only when you run out of money. Do you remember your mom? How much do you need? I'll transfer it to you in a bit. A familiar voice rang out from the other end of the line. The young man's eyes turned red, and he choked up saying, Mom, it's nothing, I just listened to a song and missed you so much. The other end of the line suddenly went silent for a few seconds. Then a choked up voice also came through, Son, I miss you too. That sentence completely broke down the young man's emotional defenses. He could no longer contain himself and sobbed out loud. Right at this very moment, scenes like this were playing out all over the country. Countless people quietly picked up their phones to make a call. On the other side, he was singing, passionately, completely unaware that not far behind him, through a crack in the door, a few nurses were holding their phones, recording a video of him. As the song ended, the comments also started jumping continuously. My mom has been gone for 5 years. I've never once dreamed of her. Only today did I realize, it's not that she didn't want to, but she didn't want to wake me up. That year, I was 15, she was 43. This year, I'm 35. So she should have been 63 by now, right? Are you doing well over there, Mom? I miss you. Can you come back to look at me just one more time? Watching the comments scroll past, the PD and the panel of judges were also immersed in endless longing. At this time, he also snapped out of it, looked at the comments, and said, Thank you for everyone's support. Hearing his voice, everyone finally woke up from their daze. The PD spoke up, Bai Tian, you're the first person to make me cry like this. In my heart, you are already number 1. But I'm quite curious, why did you suddenly switch to this song? He scratched his head and replied, Well, after calling my mom today, I had a sudden burst of emotion. I also hope everyone will care for their mothers more, of course. This song can also be dedicated to grandma, your older sister, or your father as well. Anyone who is the closest to you. Please cherish the people by your side. Don't wait until they leave to feel regret. After the 3 judges finished giving their remarks, it was time for the scoring. Baichen smiled softly. Honestly speaking, to him right now, whether he advanced or not was no longer that important. With the explosion of this song, the copyright fees of just any single track would be enough for him to go through with his surgery smoothly. Of course, he still had to continue singing, because for a broke person like him, fame was extremely necessary. He wanted to bring a better life to his mother and older sister. Seeing his score still skyrocketing as usual, he smiled and left the mic, preparing to return to his hospital room to rest. However, the exact moment he stood up, a wave of dizziness hit him, making the world spin. The feeling of thousands of needles continuously piercing into his brain surged up once again. He thought he could just grit his teeth and endure it like daytime. But unexpectedly, in the next second, his entire body, down to his bones, ached as if being scraped by a knife. What's going on? In the daytime, it was just a headache. So why am I hurting all over my body now? He faintly sensed that something was wrong. So he gritted his teeth, forced himself up, and tried to walk to where people were to call for help. Who knew that with just a slight movement, as if hitting some nerve, the pain throughout his body instantly multiplied. Is anyone there? Before the words could fully escape, the next second a dry thud rang out. His eyes went completely dark, and his entire body collapsed onto the ground, showing no more movement. At this time, outside the emergency room of Magic City Hospital, several nurses were waiting anxiously. Baiken is going to be fine, right? Just now he scared me to death. Luckily, we hadn't gone far yet. These nurses were the very ones who secretly recorded him behind the door, the exact moment he passed out. They hadn't gone far, so hearing the sound of the fall, they immediately turned back. Unexpectedly, they saw him lying unconscious on the floor, so they rushed him to the emergency room right away. But at this moment, no one noticed that in a corner not far away, there was a white-haired girl poking her head out, cautiously observing the situation over here. About 20 minutes later, the emergency room door suddenly opened. A doctor wearing a white lab coat stepped out from inside. Seeing this person, the nurses anxiously asked all at once, Chief Wang, he is going to be fine, right? Chief Wang looked at the nurses with a puzzled expression, then said, From the looks of it right now, his life is not in danger. As for the cause of his fainting, we still have to wait for the test results. Then he curiously asked the nurses, Aren't you guys stationed in the next building? Why are you over here? And even brought the patient over together. Seeing this, the nurses could only honestly recount everything that happened. After hearing the whole story from start to finish, Chief Wang's expression suddenly became extremely serious. No wonder he often had to endure such suffering. It's not surprising at all. What's wrong, Chief Wang? Is his condition worsening? Nurse Xiaoting anxiously and hurriedly asked. Chief Wang said solemnly, The possibility of this being the case is very high. Let's just wait for the test. Results first. I will contact Chief Li. You guys quickly take him back to the other side. Bai Tian, you were still in a coma, so you had absolutely no idea that you had once again climbed straight to the #1 trending spot. The song, One Meat Dish, One Vegetarian Dish triggered a massive wave of nostalgia all over the internet. Netizens also continuously left behind in the comment section their deepest thoughts that could never be spoken aloud. Even the PD couldn't have expected that before the music competition over here could even finish, her name had exploded on the hashtags once again. The heat of the live stream room even skyrocketed at a dizzying rate, causing the system to get overloaded and crash at times. Thanks to the massive sharing from the online community, our MC and his songs completely took over the internet. Witnessing this terrifying level of hype, the major music platforms could no longer sit still. At the NetEase Cloud headquarters, the statistical data sent to CEO Wang showed incredible results. Only 5 hours had passed, but the streams already surpassed the 1 billion mark, and that number was still non-stop rising. Meanwhile, the stream counts for his other 2 songs were also extremely impressive, both successfully crossing over 2 billion streams. A junior assistant was reporting the numbers to the CEO. As soon as the CEO heard this, he nodded. All right, I heard Penguin Music and Bai Tian have already made their initial contact, right? Yes, word is Penguin has already offered 5.25 billion for 2 songs. As for whether the other party agreed or not, it's still unknown for now. They are keeping it very low-key. CEO Wang frowned. 5.25 billion to buy the distribution. Rights for 2 songs. Since when did they become so generous? CEO Wang. It seems they want to buy out the exclusive copyright of the songs. The junior assistant hurriedly added, what? For just 5.25 billion. They want to seize the full copyright of both songs. CEO Wang widened his eyes, the corner of his mouth twitching. I really overestimated them. As expected, they are still as sly as ever. You could say so. After buying out the full copyright, these 2 songs will no longer belong to the singer himself. Even without permission, the singer won't be allowed to perform them in public. Many singers got scammed because they didn't understand these complex clauses, CEO Wang thought for a moment. This is actually a good thing for us. As long as we show enough sincerity, we'll have a shot at winning the exclusive distribution rights. Then he hastily told his assistant, quickly gather all of Bai Tian's info for me. I want to personally negotiate with him. And this exact scene wasn't just happening at NetEase Cloud, but almost every other platform, music platforms across the internet, were all doing the exact same thing. Everyone wanted to be one step ahead to contact him. It was just a pity that no matter how they tried to reach him, tonight he seemed to have vanished from this world. At this time, inside Magic City Hospital, he had been brought back to his hospital room to rest. Nurse Xiao Ting, wanting to take care of him proactively, chose the night shift. She looked at his pale face completely devoid of color, and his body which seemed to twitch occasionally from the pain. Involuntarily, she felt a sharp pang in her chest. Thinking back to when he was admitted to the hospital until now, no other family member had ever appeared by his side. She suddenly could understand why he could sing such despairing and sorrowful lyrics to that extent. Only those who have seen the endless darkness could write such pieces of music. While thinking, Xiao King took out her phone to take a picture of him. Right after that, she posted this photo on TikTok to pray for him. The sea of flowers is still waiting for you to bloom. The swallows are still waiting for your return. Everything will definitely be fine. Hang in there. Not long after posting, she received many blessings from everyone. Xiaoting looked at those words and smiled softly. She didn't know why she did that either. Maybe she just wanted to wish him peace, that's all. Early the next morning, the sunlight pierced through the window and shone on his face. He had also woken up, then tiredly leaned his body against the headboard. What happened to me last night? Why did it suddenly turn out like that? Even during his coma, he could still feel that bone-chilling pain. He started to wonder whether he was about to die. While deep in thought, the phone beside him suddenly rang out. He weakly picked up the call. Hello? May I ask who this is? May I ask if this is Mr. Bai? Chen, I am the manager from NetEase Cloud. I wonder if you have some time for us to chat a bit. NetEase Cloud. How about that? This was the only platform that had never contacted him until now. Finally, they had also found him. He smiled faintly and replied, hello, you called to discuss the song's copyright issues, right? But let me declare this up front. I am only selling the distribution rights. Anything else is off the table. Hearing his reply, Manager Wang's eyes flashed with a sharp gleam. Being a sharp person, he immediately realized right away that many other platforms must have approached him to negotiate, and the results likely didn't go as they wanted. Then he laughed and said, ha, that's right. But you can rest assured, my goal is only the distribution rights. We won't touch the original copyright of the songs. Hearing that, our MC nodded and said, all right then, tell me the terms your side is offering. Manager Wang didn't beat around the bush either. He immediately replied, my side is offering you 2 contract options. The first option is 5.2 billion to buy out the distribution rights for your 3 songs. Any revenue generated later on will have nothing to do with you. The second option is 12.2 billion to buy out the exclusive broadcasting rights for your 3 songs, and you will get a 10% share of any future revenue generated. Hearing the other party's terms, he nodded thoughtfully. To be honest, these 2 terms were very good, and it even included a plan for future revenue. You should know that after a platform holds exclusive rights, not only do they get income from users subscribing to memberships or purchasing songs, but they can also license it out to KTV platforms or channels like movies and television to bring in a considerable profit. 10% was already a relatively high number. Through this, it was clear the other party really came with absolute sincerity. Thinking up to this point, he didn't drag it out anymore, nodding and responding regarding, your second contract option, do you have a specific document for me to look over? If there are no issues, here's to a happy partnership. Hearing this, Manager Wong also laughed excitedly and said, there's definitely no problem at all. Rest assured, I'll send the electronic contract over to you in a bit. Take a close look at it. If it's fine, we can sign it right away. Half an hour later, he put his phone down and gently rubbed his temples. The contract was simple and clear with no ambiguous clauses. He didn't hesitate any longer, directly signing his name via electronic signature. After that, he smiled softly. So the surgery expenses had been completely taken care of. Just when our MC was considering whether he should go out today to treat himself to a delicious meal, Chief Lee suddenly walked in with an extremely serious expression. Seeing Chief Lee come in at this time, he hurriedly stood up and asked Chief Lee, has the surgery been fully arranged yet, sir? A glimmer of joy flashed through his eyes. Just lie down. I only came to ask you a few questions. Chief Lee walked over to the hospital bed. He didn't directly answer his question. Right after that, without waiting for him to speak, he asked, regarding that matter, do you have any family members here? He replied with a bit of confusion. My mom and older sister are both back in my hometown. I'm the only one here. I heard that last night you suddenly passed out at the broadcast room, right? What was the situation like back then, right after he described his body's condition before fainting that night? After listening, Chief Lee nodded thoughtfully, without saying another word. Seeing his contemplative look, our MC couldn't help but ask, Chief Lee, when can my surgery be performed? A flash of hesitation crossed Chief Lee's eyes. Then he forced a smile and said, soon, but we still need to monitor you for a few more days. I heard the nurses say you sing very well, right? From now on, just sing right here in this hospital room. Don't go running off so far by yourself anymore. Looking at Chief Lee's hesitant behavior and how he deliberately avoided the subject, the MC started to realize that something was wrong. I already did the pre-op exams a few days ago. Logically speaking, the results should have been out by now. If there were no issues, I should have been on the operating table long ago. Furthermore, I can sign the surgery consent form myself. Why does he have to look for my family? Even if Chief Lee just wanted him to get some good rest the moment he was about to turn around and leave, our MC frowned, took a deep breath, and gathered all his courage to call Chief Lee back. Chiefs, please wait. If something is wrong, just tell me straight. There's no need to hide it from me. Hearing his words, Chief Lee stopped his tracks, turned around, and looked at his pale face. After a brief silence, he walked back anyway, then pulled out from inside the document folder in his hand a lab result sheet. It was his pre-op exam sheet. He hesitated for a moment but handed it to him anyway, then slowly said, your current condition is not suitable for surgery. The cancer cells in your brain have already metastasized and at a very rapid pace. The sky that was originally clear and blue was suddenly covered by heavy layers of gray clouds, looking as if it was about to collapse, making the entire world feel incredibly oppressive. After being informed of the true nature of his illness, our MC just stood silently by the window with a lifeless face, his hollow eyes staring outside. The raindrops fell down with a pitter-patter, accompanied by a cold breeze sweeping across his face. According to what Chief Lee said, currently the cancer cells in his brain had already metastasized to his spinal canal and spine. If he wanted surgery, they first had to carry out measures like chemo and radiation therapy to suppress or eliminate those cancer cells that had already metastasized before surgery could even be considered. Furthermore, it could not be completely removed. Right now, there were two options. One was to follow what was just mentioned, chemo first and then surgery to take a gamble. With luck, a part of the tumor could be removed, and he might live for a few more years, but it would leave behind some pretty serious side effects. If unlucky, he could end up in a vegetative state or die. The second option was to spend a massive amount of money on maintenance treatment, using all kinds of medical equipment and high-end medication. Perhaps he could still live normally for 1 or 2 years, and maybe even a little longer. No matter what, curing it completely was no longer possible. Facing this sudden bad news, he didn't even know whether he should blame God for playing tricks on him or have a good cry to vent the unfairness of fate. Clearly, he had already seen the glass door of hope and had even stepped right in front of the door. Then the exact moment he reached out his hand to open it, the entire door suddenly shattered into pieces. The broken glass shards flying all over the sky made it so incredibly despairing for him. In the days that followed, our MC didn't make any other moves. Just like that, he sat by the window like a lost soul, blankly listening to the sound of the rain. During that time, Chief Lee and a few nurses also took turns coming to comfort him, but he always smiled gently and told them he was fine. Even though he was smiling, they noticed that His eyes, which were gradually becoming full of hope, had turned completely dark and gloomy without a single shred of light, just like before. He contacted teacher Pai Li, informing him that he would withdraw from the singing competition and would not participate in the upcoming rounds. Receiving the news, teacher Pai Li was utterly dazed and didn't understand what was going on. It was no exaggeration to say that the show could be this hyped, entirely thanks to his contribution. If the audience found out about this, it would be a disaster. Teacher Pai Li couldn't help but press for answers, asking what on earth his situation was. He even wanted to come straight to the hospital room to look for him. Having no choice, our MC had to tell him the truth. Upon learning about his condition, he was also stunned. Only after a long while did he send a message of comfort and express his understanding, even telling him to give his bank account number so he could transfer 3.5 billion to help with the medical treatment. But he refused. After all, he didn't lack money right now. What he lacked was his life. Sigh. Is there really no way even for the system? He asked with a bit of unwillingness. The system remained silent for a long time. Then a mechanical voice rang out in his mind. I can help the host feel a bit less pain when passing away. He was speechless. Gee, thanks a lot. Just as he was blankly staring out the window, the phone suddenly received a message. He picked up his phone to check and suddenly froze for a moment. It was from his non-biological older sister, Hey Little Bai. Are you in Magic City right now? Are you busy with anything? Hearing the form of address that was both familiar and yet distant from the other party, his heart suddenly wavered endlessly. When I was a child, after being adopted by my foster mother, I moved to live at their house. My personality was originally quite quiet and lonely, while she was very lively. She always found ways to make me happy. She never looked down on me just because I was an adopted child coming from the outside. As time passed, we became as close as biological siblings, spending every day together. But when we grew up, each of us had our own career. The two of us gradually contacted each other less, only sending a greeting message during holidays. However, no matter how little we contacted each other, we always remembered each other in our hearts. I messaged back, Sis, if I'm not in Magic City, where else could I be? Is there something going on? You brat. Can I look for you if there's nothing going on? I happen to have a business trip near Magic City and suddenly remembered you're working here, so I just asked, don't think too much. I'm not coming just to visit you, okay? Hearing those tsundere words from my sister, I suddenly smiled, letting out the first smile after all those gloomy days. In the past, secretly asking in my heart, what time are you arriving? 5 p.m. today, be at the airport on time, waiting for me. Get ready quickly to welcome your big sister. 5 hours later, I checked the watch for a bit. There were still about 7 to 8 hours left. Time was still quite plenty. Enough for me to go back to change into another outfit, take a shower, and spruce myself up a bit. After all, I couldn't let her realize that I was suffering from a serious illness. Time gradually passed toward the night. At this time, he was together with his older sister, Baijie, sitting inside a small pub. Baiji wanted to find a place where she could both eat and sip some alcohol because she was too exhausted over the past few days, so she wanted to relax a bit. Therefore, he brought her to a small pub near his rented room. Afterward, the two of them, while enjoying the cool breeze, sipped their drinks, ate, and chatted, happily together reminiscing about old memories, and then asked about each other's current situation. Over time, the atmosphere gradually became lively. Both of them had started to get tipsy before they knew it. Actually, ever since being diagnosed with brain cancer, his mood had never really improved. He had long wanted to use alcohol to drown his sorrows, but because he was afraid it would affect his illness, he never dared to drink. Now he had thought everything through. Or perhaps he had completely given up. Screw it, he wasn't going to live much longer anyway, so might as well just do whatever he wanted. Jai watched him down glass after glass of alcohol into his stomach. In her eyes, a flash of worry occasionally passed through. She frowned and asked Little Bai, what's wrong? He waved his hand drunkenly, saying wasn't he just using alcohol to drown his sorrows? Hearing this, Baijie's expression became even more serious. That's not right. You brat definitely have something hidden from me. Spit it out, what's going on? Facing her suspicion, he lowered his head and ran his fingers through his hair in endless torment, wanting to say something but unable to utter a word. Witnessing this scene, Baiji looked at Bai Tian with a face full of anxiety. I'm your older sister. When we were kids, you even told me about wetting the bed. What's there that I can't know? After hearing these words, he looked at his sister seriously, but in the end, he still didn't say it. Bai Tian, it's really nothing. I see that we can request songs here. Baiji let out a sigh. She helplessly shook her head and didn't pry any further. What do you want to listen to? Let me request it for you. Then she called the owner over. Boss, can we request songs here? I'm sorry, young folks. The gig band didn't show up today, so we aren't opening the song request service. He frowned. Why is my luck so rotten? I can't even request a single song. While thinking, he suddenly asked a question. Boss, can I go up there and sing a song myself? Seeing the owner's awkward expression, he smiled. Don't worry. I guarantee that after I finish singing, you'll sell a few more glasses of alcohol. The owner's eyes flashed with a gleam. Really? Are you a professional? He smiled and nodded. All right then. Go ahead. Do you need any help? He shook his head. Just give me a microphone with sound and an acoustic guitar and that'll be enough. A guitar is enough. IG stood by his side looking at him in a daze. Hey little brother, is it that deep? Don't you sing terribly and also have stage fright? You might not be embarrassed, but I'm embarrassed for you. If you sing badly, I'm dipping immediately. I won't wait for you, okay? Hearing Baiji's words, our MC just rolled his eyes and turned around walking straight onto the stage. At this time, he stepped onto the pub stage in a drunken stupor, picked up the acoustic guitar and sat down in front of the mic. The crowd below shifted their curious eyes toward him. Seeing his drunken appearance, quite a few people openly showed their disgust. Facing the stares of these strangers, he didn't feel uncomfortable at all. His heart had already gone cold as ashes. Would he still care about the judgment of others? Right after that, he began to strum the guitar. The sound of the guitar slowly rang out, simple intro but filled with a spreading loneliness. In just a blink of an eye, the people who were drinking were all captivated by that utterly solitary intro. Then he gently closed his eyes, his raspy voice slowly singing out, "In this place of pleasure, gathering all the sorrows." The lonely melody along with the desolate lyrics, combined with his voice full of life experiences, instantly gave everyone goosebumps. It felt as if they could feel their hearts trembling as something had just seeped into the depths of their souls. At this time, the singing voice continued to ring out. In the dark corner, along with each line of the song gradually guiding the emotions, the scene completely matched the atmosphere inside the pub. Some were raising their glasses to drink with friends, while others sat alone dejectedly in a hidden corner, picking up their wine glass and chugging it down in one gulp. And then the chorus hit. The exact moment they heard that melody, everyone felt their scalps go numb in an instant. These lyrics, blending with his sorrowful singing voice, were like a sharp sword piercing straight into the depths of the heart of each person, slicing through the emotional shell kept for so long, causing it to pour out unconsciously. Most of the people present here came to Magic City, ordinary people drifting around to make a living. They left their hometowns, helpless and with no roots, to lean on repeating a tedious and hardship-filled life every day. Only this exhausting night truly belonged to them. They tightly gripped the dry, empty glasses in their hands, their eyes turning red at some unknown point. This world is just so vast, meeting so many people, but walking on and on until finally looking back. It turns out from beginning to end, they were still all alone. Just when everyone was immersed in their emotions and couldn't break free. His voice, like a muttering monologue, rang out again. A glass to toast you. His singing no longer seemed to be filled with absolute sorrow, but seemed to carry a bit of carefreeness instead. It was the carefreeness of helplessly accepting reality. And at this exact moment, all the customers in the small pub were stunned, freezing like stone. These 8 glasses of wine, each glass toasted, became increasingly intense, and each glass became increasingly bitter. G below the stage, looking at that lonely figure beneath the stage lights, only felt her heart like being pricked by needles. How painful it was. She could feel the darkness in his heart, the kind of darkness that no matter how powerful the light was, it couldn't dispel. Little brother, what on earth happened to you? As for the audience below the stage, at this time, they also sat blankly in their seats. They were completely immersed in his singing, unable to snap out of it for a long time. Everyone's emotions under the stimulation of alcohol had been infinitely magnified. They seemed to see their own loneliness, and even that solitary back that still had to keep moving forward. Not until everyone snapped back to reality and clapped in unison did they realize the stage had already been empty for who knows how long. At this time, he and Bai Jie walked down to the lobby of his rented apartment. Along the entire way, both of them were silent and didn't speak. Baiji occasionally glanced at him, looking at his bleak eyes without a single shred of life. She only felt a dull, stinging pain in her heart. He suddenly spoke up, "Sis, how about you come up to crash at my place for a night? I'll sleep on the couch." Baiji used the excuse of having booked a hotel to decline, telling him to get some good rest. He didn't force her either. After saying goodbye, each went their own way. He returned to his room, took a comfortable shower, and then tiredly sat down on the small couch, blankly staring out the window. After finishing that song, did it seem like he had finally understood something? Just as the lyrics wrote, human life is short, so why dwell on things forever? It's already cancer. What's done is done. So why keep worrying about it anyway? At least for now, he was still alive, still able to eat, drink, and taste flavors. So why not just enjoy the present? Thinking up to here, his heart suddenly felt a whole lot lighter. Early the next morning, the rain finally stopped and the sunlight reappeared. He also returned to the hospital. He was prepared to accept the second option proposed by Chief Lee. Even though it required a huge amount of money to maintain his life, and his remaining time probably wouldn't be long, at least he could live freely and actively. Arriving at the hospital, he discussed further with Chief Lee about the details of the treatment plan. In short, the more money spent, the better the achieved results would be, and his lifespan would also be extended longer. Hearing this, he couldn't help but sigh. These numbers, reaching into billions and tens of billions of dong, were truly mind-boggling. If so, how could ordinary people even survive? Fortunately, right now, he could be considered to have the ability to make money. As long as he worked hard, he could probably sustain himself for a pretty long time. This was truly a silver lining in a dark cloud. Afterward, he returns to the hospital room, picked up the acoustic guitar, and went out to the hospital's flower garden. It was way too cold inside the hospital room. He still preferred the atmosphere outside. He found a bench and sat down, gently closing his eyes, enjoying the sunbeams shining on his face for a moment. Then, holding the guitar, he softly strummed out the musical notes. Just as he was immersing himself in the music, suddenly, he felt that there was a gaze watching him from the side. At this time, he was sitting on the bench in the hospital courtyard holding the acoustic guitar, enjoying the magic of music and sunlight. But then he noticed a gaze staring intently at him. He looked in the direction his intuition pointed, and it turned out to be the little girl from the staircase a few days ago. Under the sunlight, the little girl's hair was as white as snow, and her pale skin practically glowed, making her look very striking. Our MC knew full well that this was a sickly white. Looking at the adorable little girl, he subconsciously blurted out, "Do you like the guitar? Come over here and play for a bit." Stunned, the little girl suddenly froze, clearly startled by this sudden shout. Right after that, she timidly took 2 steps back and looked at him. But a flash of longing passed through those eyes. Seeing how adorable she was, the MC couldn't help but smile and gently waved his hand. "Come here, I'm also a patient just like you." The little girl hesitated for a long time, but in the end, she couldn't resist and walked over. Then, looking into his encouraging eyes, she reached out her tiny finger and gently plucked a string. A crisp sound rang out from the acoustic guitar. The little girl's eyes lit up with joy, and she burst into a bright smile. He patted her head, told her to sit down beside him, and then started teaching her how to play the guitar. At this time, in a corner of the garden, a man wearing a black hat was holding a camera, sneakily aiming it at him and the little girl. This guy was none other than Donkai, a famous professional paparazzi. What the MC didn't know was that the video of him singing at the pub had long been leaked onto the internet by someone. That one sorrowful song had stirred up a massive wave on social media. Someone had dug up the photo posted by Nurse Xiaoqing and compared it with the video, discovering that the person at the pub was the exact same guy in Xiaoqing's photo. With his sharp professional nose, old Dong knew that a terminally ill patient going to a pub to sing such a depressing song must have a massive backstory, and posting it would definitely bring in insane views. He immediately analyzed the photo and realized the MC was right inside the Magic City Hospital. Today, he had been ambushing here for half the day and finally managed to wait out his target. Right now, looking through the lens, he saw the sunlight piercing through the leaves, shining down on the MC and the little girl sitting under the tree, both wearing radiant smiles. What an incredibly healing scene. On this side, our MC quickly got close with the little girl. Through the conversation, he also learned about her situation. The little girl's name was Yi Yi. Her snow-white skin was caused by albinism. Children with albinism are often isolated by their peers, viewed as freaks. Perhaps Yi Yi was also affected by that, which led to her current state of being timid and shy. Just as he was about to speak up to comfort her, who would have thought the little girl's next words would leave him completely stunned? Yi Yi smiled and said, "I heard my mom say that I also have leukemia, but I never cry when getting injections. Because if I cry, my mom will cry too. I don't want to make my mom cry." In an instant, the atmosphere seemed to freeze over. The sunlight appeared to be covered by dark clouds, becoming much gloomier. He blankly stared at the little girl in front of him. Leukemia. The difficulty of treating this disease was absolutely not inferior to cancer. The treatment cost for an ordinary family was an astronomical figure reaching billions of dong. Furthermore, even if they had the money, there was still no guarantee they could find a compatible bone marrow match. Thinking up to here, his nose suddenly felt a bit stinging. Why could heaven be so cruel to a little girl like this? The white hair condition was already enough to make her suffer, yet she was still forced to endure leukemia with such a high mortality rate. Just why? But he had forgotten that he himself was also a terminally ill patient. Old Dong, standing in the corner, suddenly felt his mood sink down. His hands holding the camera trembled slightly, and even his eyes had turned red at some point. He had overheard the dialogue between the two of them. At this exact moment, he didn't feel that the photo he just took was poetic anymore. Instead, it was tinged with sorrow, because the two people in that photo, one was a young man suffering from brain cancer, and the other was a little girl suffering from both albinism and blood cancer. Right now, as he was about to sing a song for the little girl, a sudden shout carrying extreme anxiety echoed from afar. "Yi Yi, why did you run over here?" Only to see a woman. Only a woman could be seen. With a weathered face, hurriedly ran over. "I'm so sorry, young man. My daughter didn't cause any trouble for you, did she?" "I'm sorry, truly sorry," seeing Yi Yi fiddling with the acoustic guitar in his hands. She thought her daughter was being playful and bothering him. Our MC looked at this mother who was carrying big and small bags, smiled and waved his hand. "Not at all, ma'am. I invited Yi Yi over here to play together." Yi Yi, standing by the side, pouted at this moment. and said, "I didn't run around. I came to hear him sing. He's the one I told you about who sings really well." The woman looked at him and said, "So it's you Yi Yi keeps mentioning all the time that you sing so beautifully. I didn't expect you to be so young." He smiled and nodded. Right after that, the woman lovingly patted Yi Yi's little head. "Mom knows you really like listening to him sing, but we have to be discharged and go home now. Perhaps we won't come back to the hospital anymore. If you like him, you can go say goodbye to him." Our MC saw a flash of grief pass through the woman's eyes. He slightly frowned and suddenly asked, "Auntie, wait a second, are you guys being discharged? Has Yi Yi's illness been cured already?" Understanding what he wanted to ask, the woman let out a bitter smile and replied, "How could it be that easy? To find a compatible bone marrow for Yi Yi, I already quit my job. The house in our hometown has also been completely sold off. The child's father passed away early. Actually, I could still hold on a bit longer, but the doctor said if we can't find a compatible marrow, she only has 2 months left to live. He told me to take her home, so she won't have to suffer in the hospital anymore." Hearing this, both our MC and Old Dong, who was hiding in the dark, were stunned. In his career of secret filming, what kind of messed up worldview shattering things had Old Dong not seen before? But this time, his soul suffered a heavy blow. A rural woman, her child suffering from albinism and blood cancer. Her husband passed away, and she had to shoulder everything alone. This was truly a living tragedy on Earth. He too was stunned for a long time before snapping back to reality. Right now, the internet is so developed, maybe you can utilize social media to try and look for a match. Hearing his words, after a flash of despair passed through her eyes, the woman helplessly said, "Those terminally ill cases on the internet, even if you want those big famous accounts, to help out, it all costs money. And that's not a small number either. I can no longer afford that. Right now, I just want to be with my daughter, happily living out the rest of her remaining time, and I'll be content." At this time, little Yi Yi, standing by the side and seeing both him and her mom drowned in sadness, suddenly said, "It's okay, you and mom shouldn't be sad anymore. The doctor said I could only live for half a year, but I've already lived for over a year now. I'm already very content. Furthermore, I'm not afraid of death, because when people pass away, they will go to a very beautiful place. Over there, dad is also waiting for me, so I will be fine." Hearing Yi Yi's words, Bai Qian's heart tightened. What kind of things did a little girl have to go through to become this mature and understanding, facing death yet still being able to turn around and comfort others? Suddenly, he felt an overwhelming ache in his heart, and his tears uncontrollably rolled down. The woman standing by the side could no longer hold it in either and burst into bitter sobs. A long time later, the woman's emotions finally stabilized gradually. She looked at him and let out a forced apologetic smile. "I'm sorry, young man, to have made a fool of myself in front of you. We must leave now. Thank you for bringing joy to Yi Yi." "Thank you." Our MC looked at the lingering figure of Yi Yi and suddenly thought of something. He hurriedly spoke up. "Wait, let me give this to Yi Yi. She seems to really like it. Hopefully in the upcoming time, it can bring some joy to her." The mother wanted to decline, but she couldn't win against his insistence. Seeing that Yi Yi really loved it, she had no choice but to accept it. Yi Yi also happily ran out to the grass nearby, picked a small red flower, and gave it to him. "I know you are also sick. I heard that a small red flower will bring good luck. Hopefully this flower will help you get well soon." Looking at Yi Yi's action, his eyes blurred with tears, and he gently nodded with a smile. Afterward, the mother and daughter walked outside. Watching their backs from behind, his heart suddenly tightened. This farewell might probably be a final goodbye. Just as he was staring blankly, the nurse suddenly called his name, Bai Tian. "Chief Li has something to discuss with you. He told you to go to his office right now." He slightly frowned and replied, "All right, I'll be right over." Old Dong, standing nearby, heard this name and frowned, feeling that it sounded a bit familiar. After thinking for a few seconds, his body suddenly trembled violently. Bai Tian. Could he be the exact Bai Tian from the singing competition? To help the little girl with leukemia find a compatible bone marrow, even though he himself was a patient with terminal, incurable brain cancer, he still decided to give up his hope of survival to the little girl and return to join the singing competition. Wanting to use this hype to find her a ray of hope for life, who would have thought that just one of his songs would make the entire online community burst into tears, and even cause everyone to pay attention together and race against time just to help the little girl find a compatible bone marrow. At this time, the paparazzi, Old Dong, after finding out that he was the mysterious Bai Tian, was so excited that he almost jumped right up. This was definitely a piece of shocking hot news. Not long after, an article about him began to spread widely on social media with the title, "Bai Tian, the ocean trench, what can I use to keep you here? Sorrowful song cancer." Everything that everyone was caring about and wanting to know was all right here. Right below the article, there was also a video attached of him and Yi Yi in the hospital flower garden. As time passed by, this article was insanely shared across all networking sites. The number of comments also skyrocketed to nearly 10,000 in just a few minutes. In just a mere 2 hours, it shot straight up to the #1 spot on the hot search list. for no other reason than because those few songs of his had spoken for the souls of so many people. A mysterious person like him had withdrawn from the singing competition, and for some unknown reason, sang a sorrowful song at a small pub. Now, finding out that he was actually a cancer patient was already enough to trigger everyone's sympathy. Add to that the albinism and the story of little girl Yi Yi, who was suffering from blood cancer, a footage that was both tragic and yet filled with such a healing vibe like that, it would be a miracle if it didn't hit the trending tab. Many people who previously left because of him and led public opinion, those netizens who once accused him of plagiarism stood out one after another to apologize. Right after that, there was another post about him climbing straight to the number 2 spot on the hot search bar titled 10,000 people writing petition letters, praying for Bai Tian to return to the singing competition. Netizens responded in unison under the comment section. At this time, P. Lee was also completely stunned upon seeing the hot search. Why was his identity suddenly exposed like this? He had to bear massive pressure just to help him. Keep it hidden yet? Now it was exposed. Anyway, but then he let out a smile. This direction of public opinion for Bai Tian and little Yi Yi, who still hadn't found a compatible marrow, might actually be a good thing. Thinking so, his phone suddenly received a text message. Teacher, Peely, can you do me a favor? The camera cuts back to the hospital room. By this time, it was already late at night. He tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep at all. As soon as he closed his eyes, the silhouettes of Yi Yi and her mother appeared in his mind again, with no way to drive them away. Looking at the small red flower placed on the table, thinking back, it was truly ridiculous. A terminally ill guy who didn't have long to live like himself still had the peace of mind to worry about others. But the crucial point lay right there. He himself was already beyond any cure, but Yi Yi was different. As long as they could find a compatible marrow and had enough funds, the little girl would have a hope to live. She could grow up just like any other child. Even though they were just strangers passing by, the cuteness and maturity of Yi Yi had already been deeply engraved in his mind. He couldn't bear to let this little girl leave this world. However, the money he had made during the past period had almost all been paid to the hospital. Thinking up to here, he decided to contact the PD. The PD planned to use the music festival to continue boosting the hype of this matter, aiming to help Yi Yi find a compatible bone marrow. By the way, letting Bai Tian sing a few more songs would increase the heat, and then he could officially enter the entertainment industry. Only in this way could he earn enough money to cover the expenses. The next day, the finals of the music festival were completely ready. Before the match, the PD personally uploaded a video announcing that contestant Bai Tian would return to the finals as the most popular contestant. However, to ensure fairness and integrity, he needed to perform 2 songs. The first song would serve as his entry ticket. He needed to receive at least the votes from the judges, along with the consensus of the 6 contestants in the finals, in order to qualify as the 12th contestant to officially enter the final night. As soon as this information was announced, it once again caused a massive shockwave across social media. Damn, look, it's Bai Tian. Is he really coming back? Is this real or fake? Official information confirmed. No cap, Bai Tian has returned. Brothers, we gotta make a comeback too. On that very day, the music festival, which hadn't been trending for a long time, once again conquered the number 1 spot on the hot search list. In the music room, he looked at the comment threads of the netizens on his phone and smiled softly. It really was true. His return could bring the singing competition back to its golden age. At the same time, he could also borrow the hype of this traffic wave to help little Yi Yi, making it a win-win situation. There was one more reason. The song he intended to give Yi Yi that day hadn't been sung yet. Hopefully she would be able to hear it. At this moment, inside a dilapidated old house in the countryside, Yi Yi, today is your birthday. What do you want to eat? Yi Yi, being very mature and understanding, replied, whatever you want to eat, I'll eat it too, Mom. Hearing her words, a flash of bitter heartache passed through her mother's eyes. Let Mom buy you a birthday cake, okay? Yi Yi still understandingly shook her head and said, no need, Mom. Mom, I've already received the birthday gift that I love the most. Having said that, the little girl ran to the acoustic guitar that our MC had gifted her, letting out a radiant, happy smile. Afterward, Yi Yi's mother played the guitar with her for a while. Then she picked up her phone to scroll through the recent news. She had also left messages for a number of channels and charity accounts, hoping to receive help from them. Too bad there still hadn't been any response, and her heart had already grown mostly cold. Just as she was about to turn off her phone, she suddenly scrolled past a piece of news. The depressed singer Bai Tian will return to the singing competition, 8 p.m. tonight. Be there or be square. Right below the article, there was also a photo attached. It was the exact photo of him and Yi Yi playing together in the park, the photo taken with the acoustic guitar. Yi Yi's mother's heart suddenly trembled. Then she turned her head to look back. Yi Yi was happily playing with the acoustic guitar. 100 million searches quickly flooded into the live stream room of the singing competition. As time flew by, the night quickly fell. Under the witness of tens of millions of netizens, the music festival was about to begin. Even though it wasn't airtime yet, the hype of the live stream Room had already reached a terrifying 30 million. Meanwhile, the post-production staff were also busy without a moment of rest. If this kept up, they didn't know if tonight's livestream room could hold up or not. Therefore, right now, they had to thoroughly prepare all backup and assurance work. Very quickly after that, the voice of teacher PD echoed in the livestream room. Today, he decided to personally host this final match for the evening. To all the viewers who are watching, immediately comments flooded the livestream room. Stream began to appear densely. Healy was also startled by this wave, looking at the screen getting laggy for a few moments and then quickly becoming smooth again. Only then could he breathe a sigh of relief. I believe everyone has already received the news that Bai Cyan is coming back. I understand your mood right now. I myself am also extremely looking forward to it. Therefore, I won't ramble any longer. According to the procedure, I would like to introduce our judges. Please welcome teacher Shui Xiao. Jian. At this moment, the rolling comments jumped even more crazily. Oh my god, an online singing competition. Actually managed to invite Shui Xiao, Xian, many fans of teacher. Wen began to get extremely excited. Who would have thought Pili would speak up? Actually, teacher Shui Xiao, Chen actively contacted us himself. As for the reason, of course, it's because of Bai Tian. Everyone simultaneously sent question marks. Previously, 2 beautiful female singers came because of him. Now that he's back, even Gui Gao Chen has been attracted too. Just what kind of magical charm does he have? Right after that, Shui Xiao Chen got on the mic to greet everyone. Next Pai, Li said directly, let's not waste any more time. Everyone is already clear about the rules. So now please welcome our contestant Bai Chen to the mic. It has finally started. The entire comment section simultaneously showed his name to cheer him on. Along with the rolling comments, a familiar voice echoed in the live stream room. The screen was also split into 2. A handsome but pale face appeared in everyone's sight. Seeing him reveal his face, the live stream room instantly welcomed a second wave of enthusiastic rolling comments. He smiled, took an acoustic guitar and placed it on his lap, then adjusted the camera angle. A small red flower on the table appeared in the frame. I'm very sorry for wasting a bit of everyone's time today. Please allow me to tell a short story. Quite a few people felt curious. A guy who sneaked away every single time after singing? Why is he in the mood to tell a story today? Right after that, he slowly told the story of little Yi Yi inside the live stream room. When he finished telling the story, netizens across the country were all drowned in sorrowful emotions, unable to escape from them. Little Yi Yi was truly way too pitiful. Everyone without exception sighed with emotion. Not everyone gets to have a brilliant life. From backstage, Judge Sui Xiao Qian suddenly spoke up. After this competition ends, can you help me contact this little girl? I want to help her. Hearing Sui Xiao Qian's words, teacher, PD certainly wouldn't refuse. He nodded and continued. Actually, Bai Tian came here precisely because of this matter. He wants to use this live stream session to let more people know about Yuri. Only in this way will there be a chance to find a compatible bone marrow. After hearing this, teacher Shui was also stunned for a moment. His impression of our MC in his heart suddenly became much grander and nobler. Currently in the hospital, he looked at the rolling comments, smiled and said, all right, the story has been told. A few days ago, I made a promise to Yi Yi. Today, I'll also take this opportunity to sing a song as a gift to Yi Yi. Hopefully, no matter where she is, she can grow up completely carefree. The song, A Little Red Flower for You, dedicated to Yi Yi, please enjoy. Having said that, he picked up the acoustic guitar, took a deep breath, and with a slightly raspy voice, he softly sang a line a cappella. Right after that, the melodious instrumental, along with his singing voice, rang out simultaneously. Please tell me. Hearing that voice filled with tenderness, quite a few people suddenly felt their eyes sting with tears all of a sudden. They seemed to have seen how, even when Yi Yi had to face the cruel torment of her illness, she always maintained her innocence and maturity. At this moment, inside a simple room, Yi Yi looked at him singing on the screen. She was overjoyed and said, Mom, look, he said this song is dedicated to me. He even praised me for being brave. Looking at Yi Yi's boundless joy, Yi Yi's mother could only hold back her tears. Forcing a smile and nodding, she looked at the comments filling up the screen. Stay strong, Yi Yi. Yi Yi, you must absolutely hold on. So heartbreaking, I just want to go and give her a hug. Then she looked over at our MC, who was singing for Yi Yi. An indescribable emotion welled up inside her. She knew he was helping her and her daughter. At this moment, the singing continued to echo. His voice was deep, steady, and full of storytelling, as if gently confiding and praying, making everyone's heart vibrate. One by one, they all closed their eyes, as if actually seeing snowflakes covering the sky, appearing right before their eyes. At this time, Yi Yi also slightly lowered her head and closed her eyes tight. I see it. I really see the snow. Mom, there's so much snow. At this moment, the mother also closed her eyes, telling her, yes, my baby mom sees it too. She seemed to see Yi Yi standing in the middle of a snowfield, her face full of happiness. She was smiling while running forward, running further and further away, further and further away. At this moment, the singing continued to echo. Hearing this slow storytelling like singing of his, the audience in the live stream room could no longer hold it in anymore. Everyone's eyes were blurred with tears. Perhaps this song sounded a bit different compared to his previous healing songs. There was no overly tragic melody or lyrics. On the contrary, through the performance of his voice, it became exceptionally tender. It was so tender that it made people feel an extreme heartache, as if telling that resilient little girl, "Don't be sad, just treat all of this as a reward. If there's no way to change fate, then change yourself." At this moment, the chorus was gradually coming to an end. He closed his eyes tight and slowly delivered the lyrics. At this time, the mother of Yi could no longer contain herself. She hugged Yi and sobbed uncontrollably. But inside her embrace, little Yi suddenly pulled away from her mother's arms, ran to the wall covered in small red flowers, stood on her tiptoes to pick one down, then ran back and told her mother, "Mom, Yi is also giving you a small red flower. Please don't cry anymore or Yi will be very heartbroken." As she spoke, she stuck the small red flower on her mother's forehead. At this moment, his singing quietly came to an end. Everyone in the live stream room was completely silent. Not a single word could describe their emotions right now. They didn't expect that a song as simple as this could bring about such a soul-shaking effect. In his singing, they had seen her and perhaps also seen themselves, seeing the joys, angers, loves, and hatreds of life, seeing the miserable human lives tormented by fate, seeing their optimism and resilience, seeing the tenacity of life. Every footage of suffering that appeared made it impossible for people not to feel deeply moved. And in the midst of those things, his singing was like driving away the dark clouds, letting in the warm sunbeams, shining into everyone's heart, bringing them encouragement. Everyone woke up at the sound of a choked sob. That sobbing sound came right from Pili. He had tried his best to hold it back, but in the end, he still couldn't stop his body's instinct. In the live stream, room-rolling comments began to slowly appear. Yi is truly way too pitiful. She will definitely be able to see the snow falling. The day my dad passed, the family was still short of 700 million Vietnamese dong in hospital fees. Now I have the money, but too bad he is gone forever. Is there anything more painful than watching your most loved one leave while you yourself are completely helpless and can't do anything? I'm also a leukemia patient, but I was lucky enough to find a compatible bone marrow. I can totally understand Yi love her so much. Hopefully you will recover too. He who was in the hospital was also the same drowning in the song and unable to pull himself out. 2248. At this moment, Pili's voice echoed in the live stream. At this time, Pili's voice rang out in the room. Room by Tian singing has always made the listeners' hearts vibrate like that. Little Yi's story and what she has gone through have also deeply moved us. I believe that both Yi and Bai Tian will definitely be safe and sound. Next up, let's begin the voting segment to see if Bai Tian can make a successful comeback and advance into the finals. The result, of course, was exactly as expected. He received an absolute number of votes, successfully advancing into the final round. Even among the votes from the other contestants, there wasn't a single vote against him, even though he and they were competitors. And once he stepped into the finals, the championship title could very well belong to him. None of them opposed his return, because this song and Yi's story had touched the deepest parts of their hearts. They also wanted to help Yi and him, and letting him into the finals was the most effective way to help. Looking at the cheers filling the screen, he smiled and said, "Thank you to the judges, my fellow contestants, and everyone who is watching through the screen. I hope everyone can help little Yi today, so that her story and the search for a bone marrow can be spread more widely. Once again, thank you everyone." Having said that, he struggled to push himself up, and facing the camera, he bowed deeply. At this time, Pili also spoke up in a timely manner. Our music association will also do our absolute best to help Bai Tian and Yi. Right now, what Yi lacks the most is time. Therefore, I hope to ask everyone for a few minutes here. A link will appear in the live stream room, and I hope everyone can help me share it. On it is the medical record information of Yi, and information regarding the required bone marrow transplant. I believe that with our collective efforts, we can definitely help little Yi find a compatible bone marrow so that she can have a new life. At this moment, their sincerity deeply moved everyone. The rolling comments also responded in unison, and people began to share the link. At this time, the voice of teacher Shui Xiao Tian also slowly rang out. Regarding the bone marrow matter, I hope everyone will try their absolute best. Personally, I would like to donate 1.75 billion Vietnamese dong as a reward. If a compatible match is found, please contact my PD. I will also ensure that all revenue from gifts during this music exchange session will be entirely donated to little Yi and others who are in need of help. Hearing this, everyone's excitement surged even higher. Everyone mobilized the people around them to share it together. Very quickly, with such a massive amount of shares, the news about Yi finally made it onto the trending search list and occupied all the top spots on major platforms. After watching this, our MC also let out a deeply comforted smile. This time, there will definitely be a chance to find a compatible bone marrow. At this moment, teacher PD saw the popularity in the live stream room skyrocketing, with everyone asking how to donate money, as they also wanted to support. Teacher PD hastily stopped everyone. "We are not opening a donation channel here. Please stop asking." Right after that, he contacted the official management team. It turned out that the server also couldn't handle the insane hype of the music competition, so it crashed. With no other choice, Teacher PD had to post an announcement explaining the situation on Weibo, then rescheduled the finals to 8 p.m. tomorrow. Pausing the competition was also to give netizens more time to spread the information about the 350 billion Vietnamese dong. In no time, the entire internet was flooded with topics about Yi Yi. He also personally called Yi Yi's mother to clearly explain everything as well as the reasons behind it. At first, Yi Yi's mother was still a bit worried whether these people were exploiting Yi Yi's story to chase clout or not. Only now did she know it was all real. They genuinely wanted to help this pitiful mother and daughter. Furthermore, Pili also let her know that tomorrow they would arrange a car to pick them up to Modu so that Yi Yi could receive the best care. If a compatible bone marrow is found, they will immediately have the best doctors perform the surgery. After hanging up, Yi Yi's mother's eyes were already blurred with tears. She knew the root cause of all this was all thanks to him. If not for him, these things would never have happened. She knew this world is inherently very pragmatic, but he alone was the one who surprised her. They were just strangers passing by. They weren't even considered roommates in the same ward. Yet he was the only one who could do these things. She silently said, "Thank you, Bai Tian. Thank you, kind stranger." At the same time, at the hospital, our MC was tracking the news online, showing a highly sarcastic look on his face because there were so many channels and public accounts speaking up in unison, expressing that they would do everything in their power to help Yi Yi find a compatible bone marrow. But when the mother of Yi Yi contacted each and every one of them, let alone getting help, there wasn't even a single reply. As expected, it perfectly matched that one truth. When you have value or strength, everyone around you will become a good person. Regarding this matter, he didn't want to think too much either. After all, it could still be considered a good thing, as there are more resources helping out. As for the rest, it's up to heaven's will. Right after that, he closed his eyes and slowly fell asleep. The next day, the final match of the music competition that countless netizens were looking forward to was finally about to begin. Teacher PD still personally hosted the competition. After yesterday's network crash incident, the organizers had upgraded the server. This time, no matter how high the hype got, there wouldn't be any lag or disconnect anymore. In no time, it was 8 p.m. The live stream room exploded. The viewership and rolling comments were dense on the screen. If you didn't look closely, you couldn't clearly see what people were saying. At this time, Pili's voice echoed in the live stream room. "Welcome everyone to the music competition of Teacher PD. Thank you for all your enthusiastic support." Without making you wait any longer, the final match of Teacher PD's music competition officially begins. The rolling comments simultaneously cheered and rooted. Afterward, Teacher PD smiled. "Then please welcome our first performing contestant, Chichi." Hearing this name, the comment section suddenly exploded. "What the hell is this? Where is the promised Bai Tian? Holy crap, are you kidding me? I want to see Bai Tian." At this moment, Pili saw the comments suddenly causing an uproar, so he immediately spoke up to explain, Sorry everyone. I forgot to announce to everyone. The thing is, the final round has restarted from the beginning, so all the performance orders had to be drawn again. Please rest assured, everyone, there is absolutely no shady business or rigging going on here." After hearing the PD's explanation, the netizens finally calmed down gradually. After all, the guy wasn't going to run away anyway. At this time on the live stream, a highly magnetic voice rang out. "Hello everyone, I'm CT. Actually, I also really like Bai Tian. But please rest assured, I won't let everyone down either. Today, I bring to everyone a song that I just recently composed. I hope you guys will love this melody." As his words ended, a low prelude blended with a bit of sorrow rang out, making the listener's heart sink instantly. Right after that, Shi Chi's highly attractive singing voice also rose up. When the first main verse just finished, everyone's expressions also changed instantly. The simple lyrics seemed to carry a bit of unwillingness, an obsession with love. The comment sections also flew across the screen accordingly. Wow, this guy is also a master, huh? Bai Tian has met a formidable opponent this time. Not only was the audience shocked by Shi Qi, but even our MC, who was waiting for his turn at home, also slightly closed his eyes, quietly listening to the lyrics, carrying the meaning of an unfinished ending, while Yu carried the meaning of being immersed and unable to escape. Therefore, it could be said that this was a hopeless infatuation. Judging from the lyrics, it was an expression of love portraying a romance with no conclusion yet remaining stubbornly obsessed. Precisely because of this, it broke people's hearts. The song was very short, just over 3 minutes. When the melody just ended, the rolling comments cheered in unison, although it didn't have overly complex lyrics. Precisely a simple song like that combined with Shichi's special vocal quality cut straight through the hearts of so many people, making them unable to help but remember the person they once loved but couldn't have. He saw that his performance seemed to have a very good effect. So he also smiled happily. Thank you everyone for loving it. I will continue to work hard. Afterward, he turned off his mic and attentively read the rolling comments. At this time, Pili also appeared in a timely manner to moderate. Shichi has truly brought us a surprise, a song that is both great and deeply moving. Thank you, Shichi. Now, judges, please give your scores. All three judges took turns giving high praise. In the end, the total score reached 98 points. Very quickly, 8 contestants had completed their performances. Currently, it was still He who was temporarily in the lead with a sky-high score of 98 points. Ranking second was Lu Fei with 96 points, and the third position achieved 95.5 points. From the third rank down, a gap in the scores began to form. The score of the fourth person was a mere 91 points, and the rankings after that were even lower. This singing competition only awarded prize money to the top 3, so these people no longer had any hope of receiving a cash prize. They had already dropped out of the live stream room to switch to watching the performances of other contestants. At this moment, Pili's voice rang out in the live stream room. Alright, up next, let's welcome our most anticipated contestant, Bai Tian. Good evening everyone, I'm Bai Tian. Right at the scene of this final showdown night, along with his appearance, the atmosphere in the live stream room once again hit its peak. The rolling comments were wildly rooting for him. As for teacher, PD, when he saw the background behind our MC at this moment, he suddenly froze and asked, Bai Tian, did you go back home? He smiled and replied, today's song is a bit loud. Being at the hospital, I was afraid it'd affect the other patient's rest, so it's better to come home. Everyone was also collectively shocked. A bit loud? Is Bai Tian planning to change his style? Is he planning to play rock today? Oh my god, it's truly worth the wait. Right after that, they heard his voice continue to ring out. Apologies everyone. Today, I also want to share a few words. I believe everyone already knows I have cancer, right? Actually, after finding out I had this disease, I was truly terrified of death. It felt like I was suddenly sinking deep into endless darkness. Hearing Up to Here, quite a few people recalled his song, Deep Sea. That extremely suffocating feeling was probably exactly what he wanted to express at that moment. Our MC paused for a moment, then continued to reminisce. For a long time after that, I didn't know what to do at all. Moreover, the treatment cost was expensive, reaching hundreds of millions, even billions of Vietnamese dong, which wasn't something that an ordinary wage earner like me could shoulder. I tried to tell myself to accept everything, but I couldn't do it. I didn't even dare to tell my family, for fear that they would worry and be burdened by me. During that period of time, I no longer cared to do anything at all. That's why I dropped out of the competition. Afterward, I accidentally earned enough money for the surgery. I saw hope and I began to become more optimistic, but it seems heaven didn't show me mercy. My cancer cells had already metastasized, and there was no longer any way to cure it. Now my life can only be sustained by machines and medications. I truly wanted to give up. Speaking Up to Here, he suddenly smiled, looking at the small red flower beside him while saying, but now I have returned. It was little Yi Yi's optimism and resilience that brought me back. Thank you, Yi Yi. If death has always been waiting for me ahead, then why don't I cast everything aside to enjoy the present? 2529. So let's begin. Before everyone could even react. Before anyone could even react, they received the song Shanghai that he dedicated to everyone. As soon as his words ended, without giving everyone time to think, a magnificent prelude, carrying a bit of a rock style, suddenly rang out. Right after that, his deep, raspy singing voice came through. This lazy feeling blended with a bit of a worldly vibe instantly captivated everyone. Appearing in a story without me. Was he implicitly hinting at his own ending? Teacher Sui Xiao. Qian was also pondering the meaning of the lyrics. His songs always hide a certain meaning, but what is it for this time? Right while everyone was still reflecting, the accompaniment music, which sounded seemingly calm yet full of boiling passion, suddenly surged up. Right after that, his heartbreaking voice rang out. His signature raspy vocal quality exploded, soaring unusually high, combining with the classic vibe. A feeling of intense shock instantly swept through the minds of everyone in the live stream room. Everyone widened their eyes, feeling as if their eardrums were also vibrating along with it. Nobody could have guessed that he would sing a track with a style completely night and day compared to before. Afterward, the song returned to its original low and deep melody. The lyrics this time touched the hearts of so many people. They seemed to see their past selves and also their current selves. A self that was once wild in their youth and a faded self without a single shred of spotlight in the present. That lazy bohemian singing style seemed to be a form of disappointment directed at himself, while the screaming at the climax was like after having one's light worn away. By reality, it was merely one's own helpless rage. Wei Xiaoqian also closed his eyes and nodded. In his eyes, this song was also expressing that layer of meaning. But to each their own. Everyone's experience is different. So when immersing themselves, each person will have different emotions. Just when everyone was immersed in the emotions of the song, our MC's raspy, deeply shocking singing voice rang out once again. The things that are mine. This time his screaming was even more intense than before, like a wild storm crashing down, like roaring waves, crashing layer after layer powerfully into everyone's soul. Zui Qian looked at his free and unrestrained screaming posture. At this moment he was slightly dazed. He had understood it a little bit now. Rock sometimes isn't about telling a story. Rather, it is an attitude of living to rebel against injustice and pursue freedom. He knew that at this moment, our MC was venting everything, purely just letting out the negative emotions accumulated deep in his heart. That's right, our MC just wanted to use his burning life to express a burst of explosion within despair and a sense of freedom within silence, letting everything follow his own heart, not bound by fate. The song ended with his wildly uninhibited scream, but that unique accompaniment melody didn't stop immediately. Instead, it felt like a final farewell to everyone present, everyone in the live stream. Room was completely blown away by this performance. He was overwhelmed by the highly elevated showcase. Everyone was so immersed in your singing that for a long time, they still couldn't snap out of it. Dozens of seconds passed, and Pili finally snapped out of it. He cleared his throat and said, "Thank you, Bai Tian, for bringing us such a shockingly powerful performance." I believe everyone felt the roller coaster of emotions in the song, right? Just like the lyrics say, even if the high mountains and vast seas roar, I will still stay true to my original intent. I hope you guys can also overcome adversity and pursue your own innate attitude toward life and freedom. At this moment, everyone also snapped out of it, clapping in unison in front of their screens, even though no one could hear it. This applause was for you, and it was also for themselves. They were also rooting for themselves. All right, next, let's have our esteemed judges give their critiques and scores. At this time, Xue Xiaoqian's voice rang out, "Bai Tian, I'm happy for you. I can feel what you're thinking and understand what you're singing, no matter what the future holds. Whatever happens is no longer important. What matters most is the present. Thank you for showing me a wonderful attitude toward life. I'm giving a perfect score." Hearing teacher Xue Xiaoqian's words, the audience seemed to also figure something out. The next two female judges both gave perfect scores. They felt that the attitude you brought to the public is what's truly priceless. You clearly understood the meaning of this score. At this time, you also slowly spoke up to say thank you. Thank you for having everyone here. After saying that you hastily left the live stream room, the remaining contestants could only watch helplessly. They understood that the champion position no longer belonged to them, although they had anticipated this beforehand. When they saw your perfect score, they still couldn't help but flash a bitter smile. Indeed, the gap between them and you was just too vast. However, excluding the first place, there were still the second and third places to compete for. Thinking of this, they managed to pump themselves back up. The live stream room became bustling and lively again. At this time, you were lying on your bed at home. You're breathing a bit rushed as your hands continuously massaged your head, wanting to soothe the throbbing pain transmitting from deep within your brain. Even though your illness currently had entered a temporarily stable phase, your body still hadn't truly recovered. Singing a song with such an intensely explosive power was naturally a bit too overwhelming to endure. Nevertheless, on your face there was still a faint hint of a smile because you felt deeply relieved. After finishing this song, you felt that your soul, the melancholy in your heart, seemed to have been completely cleared out. This time you had truly seen the light. Right at this moment, several hurried knocks on the door suddenly rang out. Afterward, the figure of a woman was seen rushing in. Just as you were about to open your mouth to ask who it was, after clearly seeing the face of the newcomer, you instantly froze on the spot. Sis, why are you here?" After dazing out for a few seconds, you forced out a smile. You just saw Sis Bai staring intently at you with her eyes turning red, not saying a single word. In fact, you already knew that. For the past 2 days, you had shown your face in the live stream room, and moreover, the matter regarding Yi had caused such a massive sensation. Sis Bai had definitely found out about it. You knew it was time for you to face this trial. Looking at your older sister's hesitating expression, you let out a sigh, and proactively began to slowly recount everything about yourself. Cut to another scene. In the live stream room of the Music Lovers Association Pili, the results of all the singers were now out. You claimed the championship title without any surprise. Just as Teacher PD was preparing to present the award and invite the contestant to turn on their mic to give a speech, everyone finally realized you had vanished again. Teacher PD and the judges all showed look of helplessness. The audience also started sending rolling comments rapidly. That's truly our Bai Tian. Even when it comes to collecting money, he isn't even enthusiastic. At this time, by the riverbank in Modu, amidst the pitch black, high-rise buildings brightly lit with lights stood tall. The gloomy mist shrouded the surroundings, looking so exceptionally lonely. "Have you really thought it through?" Sis Bai looked at you beside her and asked with a choked voice, "Won't you try just once?" You thought for a few seconds, raised your head to face the river. Breeze smiled and said, Actually, some endings have been destined long ago. Without surgery, I can only wait for death. But if I undergo surgery, the doctor said I might end up bedridden, losing my memory, becoming a vegetable, or even dying. Even if it succeeds, it's only living for a short while longer. Instead of living half dead like this, why don't I take this chance to do something meaningful? Looking at that optimistic look of his Baijie only, felt her heart filled with 100 chaotic emotions. She wanted to advise him more, but couldn't utter a word. In the end, she could only let out a sigh and ask, "What about mom? How do you plan to tell her?" Thinking of the adoptive mother who always treated him like a treasure, Bai Tian also fell silent. After a while, he slowly said, "Wait. After I'm done with this busy period, I'll make a trip back home." That night, the two siblings talked a whole lot, from childhood stories to school days, then from school days to working life. There was nothing left unsaid. It felt just like returning to their childhood days. Early the next morning, right after he just woke up, he received a phone call from NetEase Cloud. The other party actually proposed to revise the contract. After hearing the conditions, his eyes widened in shock. At this moment, as he had just woken up and received President Wang's call, he proposed to revise the previous contract worth over 12 billion Vietnamese dong. Our MC slightly frowned. Could it be that they changed their minds? Because he still hadn't had the time to record those 3 previous songs to send to them. Are they not satisfied? Before he could even fully process it, President Wang couldn't help but speak up. 100 billion to buy the exclusive distribution rights of all the songs you've performed, and future profits will also increase from 20% to 40%. Bai Tian instantly widened his eyes. President Wang, are you sure? Hearing his reaction, President Wang smiled and said, "Bai Tian, rest assured, this is the collective decision after the board of directors discussed it together." Even though his mindset was already as calm as water, our MC still couldn't help but be shocked by their decisiveness. "Well, if you guys suffer a loss, you can't come looking for me." Okay, hearing the sentence, President Wang instantly burst into laughter. "You can place 100 times your trust in us. We will shoulder all the consequences ourselves. Furthermore, we've grown the company to this scale. Do you think we'd misjudge a person?" Hearing that, Bai Tian also slightly smiled. "All right then, it's better to accept than to politely refuse. Here's to a happy cooperation." The contract was set and wealth is determined by fate. Afterward, both sides finalized a few details and proceeded to sign the agreement online. Looking at the massive figure that went beyond expectations, he couldn't help but smile happily. This way, after he leaves, he can leave a quite decent amount of money for his adoptive mother and older sister. Thinking of this, his heart was also relieved a lot. For so long, he had always wanted to do something for them, to repay the kindness of adoption. But previously, he didn't have the capability, couldn't make money, and even contracted a terminal illness. Fortunately, it's still in time now. Afterward, you rearrange your schedule for the next 2 days, ensuring that you'll finish recording the songs as soon as possible to send to NetEase Cloud, as you can't fail people's trust. At this time, older sister Baiji, carrying 2 portions of breakfast, walked into your rented room. Seeing that she still hadn't left, you took the breakfast and then helplessly said, "You don't need to do this, sis. If you have work, just go do it. I can handle my own matters." As the words were just uttered, you already saw Baiji staring you down. You hurriedly said, all right, I was wrong. I was wrong. Your future child is going to be so happy, haha." Right after that, Baijie glared at you and said, "You don't need to worry about my business. Just focus on resting well these few days, and let me help you with everything else." Right while you were happily eating breakfast, Piley's phone call came through. It turned out that little Yi Yi had been brought back to the hospital by him. He wanted to drop by and visit you while he was at it, and also wanted you to send your account number to him so he could transfer the competition prize money to you. You truly had a newfound respect for Piley. Who would have thought he'd work so fast and efficiently like that? It seems he really is a pretty good guy. After expressing your gratitude, you said you'd head to the hospital right away. Telling him to wait a moment and then sent your account number over, you didn't bother being overly polite either. After all, 3.5 billion VND is a massive sum of money, right? Unexpectedly, the moment the notification chime rang, out the account had already received 7 billion Vietnamese dong. You were slightly surprised for a moment, but then understood right away. After all the hype that you brought to Teacher PD's livestream room was truly too terrifying. The extra 3.5 billion Vietnamese dongs must be the bonus reward meant for you. You smiled and then casually accepted it. At this time, in front of the door of the hospital's high-class private room, Peely flashed a radiant smile and asked Yi Yi's mother, "How is it? Is this room okay? Is Yi Yi getting used to staying here, ma'am?" In order for Yi Yi to receive the best care, we arranged to put her straight into the hospital's VIP room. The interior and equipment inside are all the best available today. Hearing the words, Peely said, Yi Yi's mother also spoke up emotionally. "Thank you so much, truly. Everything is very good. And Yi Yi is also very happy. Meeting you and Bai Sign is the greatest blessing for my daughter and me. I just don't know how I should repay you guys properly." Peely smiled and replied, "As long as Yi Yi gets well, that is already the greatest repayment for us." Hearing this, Yi Yi's mother was also moved to tears. A moment later, Yu and Sis Bai also arrived at this place. Seeing two familiar people in front of the hospital room door, you smiled and walked over to greet them. Seeing Sis Bai walking beside you, Pili also politely asked to confirm her identity. You quickly introduced them to each other. Afterward, everyone entered the hospital room together to visit Yi Yi. Yi Yi was lying on the bed, and as soon as she saw the people walking in, her eyes lit up with a smile. It's Brother Bai Tian. Brother Bai Tian came to visit me. Then the little girl climbed down from the bed and rushed toward him. Li Jianzhuang also squatted down, opening his arms wide to catch Yi Yi and pick her up. Afterward, everyone happily chatted right inside the hospital room. Next, everyone unanimously decided to take Yi Yi to the amusement park to play, enjoying a wonderful fairy tale world, so that Yi Yi could experience a joy she had never had before. Not only for Yi Yi, but even for you guys, it felt a bit relaxing, amidst this fairy tale-like scenery. Looking at the innocent smile on Yi Yi's face, you suddenly felt extremely inspired. You walked over to a street busking stall by the roadside, negotiated a bit with the singer there, intending to sing a song for Yi Yi right on the spot. After hearing Li Xiaosheng sing a few lines, those singers also agreed right away. Perhaps letting a passerby step up to sing would attract more onlookers. Our MC handed the backing track to the band, then smiled and looked into the expectant eyes of Yi Yi and the rest. He slowly spoke up. Today, I want to dedicate one more song to Yi Yi. May your heart always have a world as beautiful as a fairy tale. Everyone knew the magic in his singing voice, so everyone excitedly clapped in anticipation. The next second, a melodious and gentle whistling sound rang out. Hearing that cheerful, breezy rhythm, Pai Li slightly raised an eyebrow, switching to a warm style again. How can such a monster genius exist in this world? No matter the circumstance, he can always sing a fitting song. Just as he was wondering, a gentle voice rang out. This time your singing voice was no longer deep, low, or raspy like before. On the contrary, it brought a gentle dreamlike feeling, as if containing a kind of magical power, leading everyone into a fairy tale world. Afterward, the chorus also softly rang out. Your incomparably beautiful singing voice kept echoing in everyone's minds. And right at this moment, quite a few tourists who were preparing to leave upon passing by, and hearing this soul-stirring, singing voice, stopped their steps to join the crowd of onlookers. Many people were talking excitedly among themselves. He sings so beautifully. Why have I never heard this song before? It feels so incredibly healing. Suddenly, all my fatigue is completely gone. Meanwhile, you were still using your singing voice to recount the fairy tale story. You sang, You Say There Are Flowers, on the cliff. Along with your cheerful and gentle singing voice, everyone's faces radiated smiles. They voluntarily raised their hands high, swaying along to the melody of the song. Coincidentally, a display of brilliant fireworks burst into life in the sky above the castle. Accompanied by the sky-splitting explosions, rainbow-like colors bloomed amidst the dark night, with sparkling golden sparks radiating a brilliant light. Right at this moment, your gentle singing voice rang out again. There is a winding path just like a little bird. Afterward, you smiled and asked Yi Yi, is there anywhere else you want to go? Tomorrow we can go together, okay? Hearing that, Yi Yi's eyes suddenly turned sorrowful. Right after that, she smiled and said, I want to go see the ocean, but the wind is very strong there, so I can't go. I must not catch a cold. Hearing up to here, everyone felt extremely heartbroken, but there was no other way. Once she catches a cold, for a pediatric leukemia patient like her, that would be fatal. In helplessness, our MC could only say, I will definitely take you to see the ocean when you get better. We will go see the ocean right away, Yi Yi. Upon hearing this, happily replied, It's all right, Brother Bai Tian. Everyone bringing me to the amusement park has already made me very content. Everyone, please don't be sad. Yi Yi will definitely get better. Hearing that, everyone only felt a sting in their noses, and the space inside the car gradually fell into silence. Afterward, everyone brought Yi Yi back to her hospital room, and then everyone returned to their respective places. The next day, just as our MC was preparing to go with teacher PD to record the new song, he suddenly received a phone call halfway. Hello, is this Yi Yi's mom? What's the matter, ma'am? The next second, his facial expression suddenly changed. What, Yi Yi fainted? At this time at Modu Hospital, our MC looked at Yi Yi gasping for breath on the hospital bed, his face suddenly darkening. What's going on? She was still perfectly healthy yesterday. Seeing him and Pai Li arrive, Yi Yi's mother painfully said, Just last night, Yi Yi suddenly ran a high fever and then lost consciousness. And afterward, there were even symptoms of hemorrhaging. After the doctor came to treat her, the situation got a bit better. Just as he was about to speak, a nurse suddenly walked in, notifying Yi Yi's family to come to the doctor's office. A moment later, Pai Li and Yi Yi's mother went over there, while our MC stayed behind in the hospital room to keep Yi Yi company. At this time, Yi Yi let out a weak cry calling for her mother. It hurt so much. Hearing Yi Yi's subconscious cry, he felt extremely heartbroken. He moved closer to her side, holding her little hand. Yi Yi seemed to perceive something, struggling to open her eyes wide. Is that Brother Bai Tian? Our MC looked at Yi Yi, who had just woken up, his eyes momentarily flashing with a look of affection. How are you feeling? Is there anywhere that feels uncomfortable? Yi Yi slightly shook her head. Yi Yi is fine. Brother Bai Tian, where did mom go? I don't see her, Yi Yi asked anxiously. Our MC explained it to her a bit, and only then did the little girl slowly say, I'm sorry for making everyone worry. He heartbreakingly stroked her head. A long while later, Yi Yi suddenly said, Brother Bai Tian, is it true that I won't have another chance to go see the ocean with everyone anymore? Hearing this, his heart tightened. Afterward, he hurriedly shook his head, forcing out a smile and said, how could that be? Yi Yi will get well very quickly. Once you get well, you'll be able to see the ocean. Hearing your comforting words, Yi suddenly smiled and said, Brother Bai Tian, can you sing another song for me? I'm afraid I won't have another chance to hear you sing later. Hearing this, your eyes turned red. You wanted to say something but couldn't utter a word, and could only nod your head. After thinking for a few minutes, you took a deep breath and began to hum in an extremely gentle singing voice. Hearing this pure and ethereal singing voice of yours, the corner of Yi Yi's lips slightly curved up. She closed her eyes tightly. At this exact moment, she felt as if she was walking along the seashore with you, feeling each wave gently lapping against her feet, feeling the smooth softness of the sand. In your singing voice, Yi Yi peacefully drifted off to sleep, with a faint smile still remaining on her face. Before sleeping, she even uttered a sentence. The ocean is so beautiful. I must go see it myself. At this moment, you were once again moved by Yi Yi's optimism and shaken by that resilience. This little girl is much more resilient than I imagined. Right at this moment, Pai and Yi Yi's mother just happened to return. You immediately spoke up softly to remind them. Yi Yi woke up, but then dozed off again. Yi Yi's mother stayed behind to watch over her while you and Pili went outside. After reaching the hallway, looking at Pili's somewhat heavy facial expression, you anxiously asked, what did the doctor say? Pili said in a deep voice, the doctor said they found a bone marrow match. Suddenly, she raised her hand intending to strike. Does this kid not know what's good for him? Fortunately, I was wrong, sis. I was wrong. During the few days Yi Yi was undergoing treatment, your first round of chemotherapy also came to an end. At this time, you had already shaved your head bald, wearily lying on the hospital bed. But in your heart, you were still worried and thinking about Yi Yi's condition. Bai Jai, who was by your side, saw through your worry. Don't worry anymore. Yi's mom said her condition is currently very stable, telling us not to worry. Quick, taste this stir-fried pork with garlic sprouts that I made myself. Hearing that, you also happily smiled. It smells so good. You didn't buy this from a store, did you? Seeing that you were still in the mood to joke around, Bai Ji also pretended to be annoyed. Your sister has been hustling out there for so many years. I've long since mastered top-tier cooking skills. You kid are really blessed with food. Listening to her words, you smiled and began to eat. But after eating just a few bites, your facial expression suddenly changed. You turned your head toward the trash can and began to vomit. Seeing your reaction, Sis Bai was also startled for a moment, then hurriedly patted your back gently. What's wrong? Is it because the food doesn't suit your taste? You waved your hand. No, it's not. It's just that I suddenly felt nauseous. It must be a side effect of the chemotherapy. Let's keep eating. After eating, you lay on the bed to rest. After undergoing chemotherapy, your entire body felt uncomfortable, a truly terrible feeling. Thinking about the fact that there were still 4 rounds of chemotherapy left, our MC couldn't help but feel annoyed. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out in his head. Long time no see, my host. Hearing this sound, you rolled your eyes, not wanting to pay any attention to this useless system. Other people's systems all defy heaven and change fate. Why is it so terrible when it comes to him? The system also detecting his thoughts rang out again with its voice. Apologies, host. This system indeed cannot help you defy heaven and change your fate, but considering that the host used music to help little Yi Yi a lot, the system has upgraded itself. Currently, it can help the host suppress cancer cells for 3 years. During these 3 years, the host's body will be no different from a normal person. Hearing up to here, his eyes suddenly lit up. 3 years of living like a normal person, no longer tormented by illness. That's just too wonderful. You no longer wish to live to be 100 years old. Just not being tortured by those bouts of pain was enough to make you feel happy. Right after that, you felt a strange surge of warmth welling up inside your body. A moment later, the side effects caused by the chemotherapy process suddenly disappeared in a miraculous way. Your body suddenly became completely light and relaxed. Time quietly passed by. Since your first round of chemotherapy, nearly half a month had passed. During this period of time, after undergoing various checkups, you were allowed to be discharged. Even the doctor couldn't explain your condition, but the cancer cells seemed to have gone dormant. They were no longer active. At this time, Baidia happily handed you 2 tickets. Zui Xiao and teacher Shui asked someone to give you these 2 tickets. If you want to go, I'll go with you. You took the 2 tickets, seeing a small red flower printed on them, along with the words Angel Charity Concert Night. Only now did you suddenly remember. This was exactly what Teacher Sui had mentioned to you before. He wanted to host a charity concert for little Yi and many other young children suffering from critical illnesses, aiming to call on more people to pay attention to these situations. The entire revenue from the concert would also be donated to treat the children's illnesses. Thinking of this, you nod slightly. Let's go then. There are still a few days left until that time. IG quizzically asked, there's still a week before it starts. Is there something wrong? You smiled and said, if we're going, we have to make it worthwhile. We definitely have to do something. I'll go make a phone call first. A week later, the concert officially began amidst the anticipation of tens of thousands of people. Shui Xiaoqian's influence went without saying. The venue was packed with people. Shui Xiaoqian also gave it his all, singing song after song. The audience was also extremely excited and immersed, with cheers ringing out nonstop. From time to time, there were thunderous sing-alongs. Wei Xiaoqian's stage control was also incredibly explosive and extremely humorous. The interactions during the breaks made the live audience double over with laughter. You and Baiji sat below the stands, watching this bustling scene, and your heart also felt a bit thrilled. So this is what a concert is like. At this time, with Sui Xiaoqian on stage, the hit Person from Another Planet gradually came to an end. Right after that, the big screen on the stage suddenly displayed a picture of Yi, along with several video clips of her. Everyone's attention was drawn. Everyone knew today was a charity concert, and they also knew who Yi was, but they still couldn't help but feel heartbroken. At this time, Sui Xiaoqian took a deep breath and said, next, please welcome our special guest to the stage. Welcome Bai Tian. Hearing these words, the live audience let out a collective gasp of surprise. At this moment on stage, Wei Xiaoqian had just finished telling little Yi's story, leaving the entire auditorium unable to hold back their tears. At the same time, bursts of thunderous applause rang out. This was exactly the purpose of organizing the charity concert, and also what a star should do, using their influence to spread hope. Suddenly, the stage lights went out. In an instant, the venue was plunged into total darkness, accompanied by the surprised gasps of the audience. A melody both unfamiliar yet familiar slowly rang out. This melody was the song Haidi Lao, but it was slightly different, indescribable in words compared to the previous version of Haidi Lao. It seemed to have an added sense of vitality. Could it be that Teacher Zui got the copyright to Haidi Lao and rearranged it himself? As soon as the melody rang out, it piqued the interest of quite a few audience members. People began talking excitedly among themselves. After all, our MC's song during this past period had been way too hot. Just as everyone was discussing, a high and clear singing voice rang out. The face of the ocean. The moment these two lines of the song were sung, the eyes of the audience in the auditorium instantly lit up. They realized that although these two lines of lyrics were identical to the original, the emotion was completely different. And this was only the beginning. The next second, a shocking scene appeared. Along with the echoing singing voice, with a click, a beam of spotlight shone directly down onto the center of the stage. A single figure could be seen standing tall and straight, there exuding a stillness like a rippleless lake. Right after that, everyone simultaneously looked up at the big screen. Holy crap, it's Bai Tian is here. The crowd was extremely thrilled, jumping to their feet and chanting his name. In reality, in his heart, our MC was still quite nervous. After all, this was the first time he performed in front of so many people. But after hearing everyone's cheers, it felt as if a surge of strength was injected into his heart, dispelling the feeling of nervousness. Right after that, he raised the mic and continued to sing. This song, Haidi Lao, was the track that brought quite a few fans into the fandom, but at the same time, it made people not dare to listen to it too much. Because this song was way too melancholy, making listeners unable to see even a sliver of light, and every time they finished listening, they just wanted to sink themselves down to the very bottom of the ocean. However, today's version of Haidi Lao had clearly been rearranged by him, making those who were sinking deep at the bottom of the sea suddenly see a ray of sunlight filtering through. Just as everyone was immersed in his singing voice, his vocal tone suddenly dropped low. Hearing up to here, the entire audience couldn't help but widen their eyes. Is this rap? Holy crap, Bai Chen even knows how to do this. This vocal switch up is just too top tier. However, there were still many people who felt, why add a rap verse? Isn't that a bit mismatched? But little did they know, the real shocker was still to come. After this rap verse ended, the song returned to the main melody. At this time, low and steady classical tones rang out in the accompaniment. His gaze also became more resolute accordingly. Hearing up to here, the entire audience excitedly widened their eyes, their whole bodies trembling. Even those who previously didn't like rap were completely conquered by this verse of his. Every word and every line was filled with intense hope, filled with the power of rising up and fighting back. If the feeling of the music in the old version made people despair, then the track rearranged by him at this moment seemed to be reminding those in despair that there is still hope and that this world still needs them. Suddenly, they felt that the bottom of the sea was no longer that cold, no longer dark, and not that dark anymore. Just as the audience was still shocked, The singing voice continued to ring out. Along with his singing voice on the big screen, the dark clouds covering the ocean slowly dispersed, and rays of sunlight from the sky gradually fell down, shining upon the surface of the sea, like a guiding light wanting to show the person sinking deep at the bottom of the sea, a way back home. In an instant, countless people at the venue burst into tears. Our MC was completely unaware of everyone's reaction. At this moment, he was still fully immersed in the song. Singing up to here, the classical music suddenly became intense. Before everyone could even react, they already heard his high-pitched and resonant singing voice carry over, a sound like an echo falling from heaven, enveloping the entire auditorium. The dark clouds on the big screen had completely vanished, and a brilliant sun hung high in the sky. The ocean that was originally dark and deadly under the illumination of the sunlight now displayed a deep blue color, a meaningful gathering, filled with hope and life. When his final note just ended, thunderous applause didn't ring out in the stands. Instead, a blanket of silence enveloped the place. Looking around, one could see that everyone's eyes had already turned red. They were all shocked by those few short lines of the song. The unique and beautiful scenery of the four seasons instantly filled everyone's minds. Hundreds of flowers blooming, birds chirping, and fragrant flowers. How beautiful this world truly is. The original version sang of decay, but this version sang of salvation. Even though the lyrics said, "It's too late," in everyone's ears, what they heard was, "There's still time, everything is still in time." The next second, thunderous applause and cheers resounded throughout the entire stands. Our MC bowed slightly to everyone, saying a word of thanks. At this time, Teacher Shui also stepped onto the stage in a timely manner. All right, this is my home turf, you guys. With everyone acting like this, where am I supposed to hide my face? The venue instantly burst into laughter. With just a single sentence, he made the audience who were immersed in their emotions burst out, laughing. Afterward, Teacher Zhu then smiled and said, not teasing everyone anymore. Just now was the new version of the track, Haidi Lao, performed by our Bai Tian. Did everyone love it? The audience below the stands stretched their necks and shouted in unison. We loved it so much, Bai Tian, I love you. Seeing how enthusiastic the atmosphere at the venue was, Teacher Zhui Xiaoqian also nodded and said, in fact, it's not just you guys. Even I particularly love it. I have never felt any song that has such a soul-penetrating power like this. Bai Tian, can you share the original intention behind changing this song? Our MC thought for a moment, then slowly said, in fact, this can also be considered my own experience. Just like these two versions, it's a process of going from despair to hope. I also want to remind everyone that perhaps this life is very difficult, but that's exactly why it becomes meaningful. Therefore, I hope this different version of Haidi Lao can bring everyone a bit of strength, so that we can stay optimistic together and keep moving forward. Thank you, everyone. Wei Xiaoqian saw that he was a bit nervous, so he smiled and spoke up. All right, let's not make things difficult for him anymore. As you guys know, inviting this guy up to sing is no easy task. So I won't waste everyone's precious time any longer. For the final performance next, how about Let Me Sing? Who would have thought? The audience below the stage didn't give Shui Xiaoqian any face at all. Everyone shouted in unison, demanding a ticket refund. Our MC looked at Shui Xiaoqian and his love-hate dynamic with the audience, and he couldn't help but smile too. At this time, Shui Xiaoqian also intentionally rolled his eyes, saying, I knew you guys would do this. All right. Next, let's hand the stage over to our Bai Tian. He will bring everyone a new song that has never been performed before. As soon as Shui Xiaoqian finished speaking, the entire audience once again erupted. Cheers chanting his name echoed everywhere. Shui Xiaoqian could only shake his head, and with a smile stepped down from the stage. At this moment in the audience seats of the concert, did everyone hear that? Teacher Shui said Bai Tian is about to sing a new song. For real, we're so damn lucky. We get to hear Bai Tian's new song live, just as the audience below was buzzing with excitement. You smiled faintly. Next up the track, I Once. Thought of ending it all, dedicated to everyone. But this time I plan to perform it in a regional dialect. When the audience below heard the name of this song, everyone was incredibly thrilled. They didn't expect him to sing in a dialect, and just hearing the title alone, they knew it was a sad song. In their eyes, those deeply melancholic tracks were exactly your brand. Down below, there were many of your longtime fans. They had already prepared themselves mentally. While the new fans were still cheering, the OG fans had already got their tissues ready. Just as the audience was talking in anticipation, an elegant piano melody rang out, beautiful yet carrying a hint of loneliness. The audience members who were buzzing with discussion just now all fell completely silent, eagerly waiting for his next performance. The short intro quickly came to an end, and your gentle singing voice slowly rose. As these lyrics appeared, blending with the soft vocal tone and relaxed melody, the low and deep accompaniment instantly captivated the audience below the stage, drawing them deep into the emotions of the song. Looking at the lyrics on the big screen, the fans felt as if they had found a familiar feeling, just like your previous songs. It was an oppressive feeling with no hope in sight. Right at this moment, along with the rhythmic beat of the drums, your singing voice also rose accordingly. Hearing up to here, quite a few people's eyes had already turned red without them realizing. Everything that appeared before their eyes was a scene of decay and desolation. The sorrowful cry of seagulls at the harbor, the rusted arch bridge, the abandoned bicycle. Only those who had experienced being surrounded by despair could truly understand what the song described. Every little detail was told in an indifferent voice. Could all be the last straw that crushes them. Even though they know full well that to change tomorrow, they must start taking action today. But for people who have truly tasted despair, how could they possibly do it? At this time, the drum beat gradually became intense, and the first chorus came to an end. The audience below the stage didn't react at all. Everyone was dazed, completely immersed in it, with tears falling without them even realizing. Wei Xiaoqian, backstage, was also staring blankly at our MC on stage at this moment. This song had touched the deepest part of his heart. He recalled himself when he had just entered the industry, a song that became a massive hit across the country, making him think he would welcome a glorious career. But unexpectedly, while the song was indeed a hit, and every big street and small alley played his music, it just stopped there. Waiting for him was not a brilliant career, but nearly a dozen years of sinking into obscurity. Nobody knew in order to make himself and his music known to more people what he had to trade away over the past dozen years. What everyone saw was only his current spotlight. In fact, everyone will have a most difficult, darkest period in their life, denying themselves, doubting themselves, losing faith in a life full of resentment toward this world. Why is the person being crushed by society always me? Why is my luck always this bad? Why can't anyone help me? Why, when emotions reach the absolute limit, do they even harbor the thought of ending their life to escape it all? Although the lyrics did not repeat, the descriptive imagery was still just like the previous section, making people feel suffocated. But the sensitive audience members had long since been covered in tears. One day, everything will pass. Afterward, the entire stands burst into enthusiastic applause, louder than any time before. Everyone was not only clapping to praise him, but they were also giving strength to themselves.